Hello and welcome back to the Overwatch Pacific Championship English broadcast. I'm Dallas Easy Fight today. Joining me, as per usual, Matt Smite Ross. We've just seen AHQ take down Marchi very convincingly, 3-0. Now it's going to be Fireball's turn to see if they can topple AHQ, who are looking so very good in their first match this evening.
AHQ looking a lot better than they have recently. They're a team that has fallen down a little bit, but came back strong against Marchi. I even talked about this before their matchup too, right? Marchi looked stronger against Hong Kong Attitude than AHQ did, but look, AHQ, they've done something, they've brought it back, and I've got to say a lot of it comes off their new refined composition, that 2-2-2 Lazy Titan on that Diva.
And obviously for the side of Fireball, a team that has been vastly improving throughout the OPC, it's now going to be their time to test their strengths again against AHQ. And I mean, this one is going to be extremely tough for them, but if they can pick this up, they should be very, very happy with themselves.
Fireball, also a big fan favorite for the OPC as a whole. They've got all of Thailand behind them, and their players are just fantastic characters as well. I mean, Apudo alone carries the personality for the team.
Hug. Oh, get off me, mate.
But it's but it's not just Apudo, right? The whole team, they are a joy to watch, honestly. Like, wait until we get into the player cams later on, but they've always got a treat for you there. But even if they don't, they're always at the very least giving you a big smile, always looking ready for the match. And I said this earlier today at the top of the broadcast, is that most of these matches are not going to affect the final placements because we are in the second last day. Fireball are not going to be able to overtake Marchi. They're not going to be able to drop below Detonator, who are below them. So the series isn't going to have a final impact on placements, but we'll be moving into Season 2 pretty shortly as well. So Fireball need to start looking good against some of these teams. So even though AHQ, they're favored to win, Fireball, I'd love to see a good showing. I'd love to see them take a map.
Yeah, if we have a quick look at the overall standings before we get into this one there, you know, Fireball definitely on the rise there, still, you know, at a negative win rate, you know, so not on the level of improvement that Marchi have had over the entirety of the OPC, but, you know, picking themselves up double-digit wins would be absolutely huge for them, I feel. They still have a few more matches to play, obviously. But the thing is obviously coming up against AHQ, it's a real good test for their sort of strength. You know, over the last few weeks have looked a lot stronger, as I've mentioned, and this is going to be one of the best teams for them to try their luck against.
And unfortunately for Fireball, they've got 2 matches in a row because they're up against AHQ, and then they go up against Flash Wolves, who, we're talking up AHQ, right? Flash Wolves have also gone undefeated in this 4th round robin. They're coming off an undefeated run in the 3rd round robin. They might be tested later on against Hong Kong Attitude, but they've already beaten Blank. They've already beaten AHQ. So, I mean, they're sitting at the top of the table right now. So even though Fireball, if they can pull out some kind of miracle here and beat the favored team AHQ, then they have to go up against Flash Wolves. So toughest match of the 4th round robin for Fireball by far.
And of course, AHQ do have the home side advantage as well. So Fireball definitely do have a lot of work to do coming into this series. And the thing why I say, I suppose, that this is the one that Fireball will have a chance at taking away is that Fireball versus Flash Wolves, that in itself, you know, Flash Wolves have lost 10 maps overall.
AHQ will be on the home side as well, which means that they get to pick the 1st map, the 3rd map, and the 5th map, which is Control, Assault, and then the 2nd hybrid, respectively. And then Fireball as the away team will pick the 2nd map, which is the 1st hybrid, and 4th map, which is going to be Escort, if we get to it, of course, because AHQ, said it before, they just came off a 3-0 against Marchi, so we didn't even get to see the 4th and 5th maps.
And adding in Titawat, just some player I sort of want to highlight really quickly here, this is when Fireball have sort of had that change in momentum. By no stretch of the imagination are they a top tier team in the OPC, but adding in Titawat has definitely been the change that the team needed. They've looked a lot stronger since adding him in, and it's now going to be very interesting to see how this addition of their sort of solid tank player is going to stack up against AHQ.
Yeah, I mean, Titawat has been a good addition. I've definitely enjoyed seeing it. We'll talk about him a little bit later because on your screen right now, it's AHQ. Cowman was
huge.
He was definitely huge in Temple of Anubis, that's for sure. The other 2 maps, I'd say, a little bit left to be desired, but more consistent than Nonez was when he was on the Genji.
And I mean, we saw Lazy Titan being just an absolute machine on the Diva. When anything's not working, they throw him onto Diva, and he's just absolutely insane. Here's Carez, just before we went to break as well, did earn himself the Player of the match in that Machi series there. So he was very, very strong on the Ana throughout that series there. Crappy as well. Very aggressive Lucio. Love the way that he plays his Lucio. I always talk and rave on about his Torbjorn, but his Lucio, so very good. Plays it like a DPS. And Eric as well. You're going to be one of those very strong and solid tank players. But obviously coming up against Titawat, I think he's definitely the stronger.
So you might see Rocket on your screen, see his most pick being Winston, but with Titawat on the team, who's sitting right there, he's actually come in as the main tank. And ignore that support icon because he is playing tank. You can see there's no supports there. So it does mean that Rocket can go back to the support role, which was something that was changed up way back in the early days of the OPC. So Fireball back to a lot more of their strengths. It allows them to be a little bit more flexible because Titawat doesn't only rely on that Reinhardt. Fireball still a team that clearly favors the Winston compositions. Oh my goodness. This is what I was talking about.
Well, there's NZNR and Apudo, the dynamic duo, the big DPSs, dabbing on him, and let's see if they can dab on AHQ in this series there. Apudo, obviously, you know, one of those standout players before we came into the OPC, but NZNR has definitely stepped up into his stride, as well as Ninth as well, I feel, has been so very strong and so flexible. His Zarya, I feel, is, in my opinion, one of the most joyous Zaryas to watch in the tournament.
And it is something that you mostly see on the first point of King's Row, and sometimes the rest of it if we get to the third point. But just going back to Apudo and NZNR, I want to talk about their synergy a little bit because these guys aren't just synergizing on the battlefields either, right? And I actually follow Apudo.
Here we go.
I follow Apudo on social media, Twitter, Facebook, because he's such a character. Even though I can't actually read his posts in his language, but you can see the videos, and he was actually at a department store with NZNR, and they were like taking pillows off the shelves and sleeping on the floor, and the video ends with one of the staff members telling them to get out, but that was quite a joy to watch. But it's cool that they're using a lot of their time in Taiwan as well to really get to know each other as well. But Matt picks out.
Fireball creating a bit of a ruckus over in Taiwan. And AHQ, surprise, surprise, picking Lijiang Tower, one of the most picked maps, obviously, for Control by quite a margin here. And AHQ obviously looking very strong against Machi on Lijiang. But Fireball, we've talked about them before, a very, very strong Control team. If that is one of their sort of preferred map types, I'd have to say Control. They've been very standout.
Definitely. I mean, we just saw AHQ come out with a pretty good performance against Machi on Lijiang Tower. They did show a bit of a weakness on Gardens, but I said it actually during the series is that if they were to go back to Gardens again, I would say that they would beat Machi then. So coming up against Fireball, I've got to say that even if there may have been some kind of weakness on Gardens, they've patched it up, right? Fireball aren't going to be able to exploit the same thing. They do still run heavy dive. They do still like to run Apudo on the Genji rather than Soldier than a lot of teams have been running instead. So they do still have that option to go very, very heavy dive, find Dizzy on that Soldier and take him out.
Well, that's obviously, again, one of the biggest strengths when it comes to the side of Fireball is the fact that their dive is so very strong. That over time, they've sort of worked on their cohesion, and that has been where they find a lot of their strengths there. NZNR's Tracer, I feel, is going to be the absolute key for Fireball to be able to pick this up.
That's another big thing as well, right? NZNR, I've got to rate currently higher than any Tracer play that's come out from AHQ. When they usually do run a Tracer, it's either Dizzy or Cowman, right? And NZNR, I'd say, is just very slightly a step above those players, right? And AHQ, you can see that they are going to throw Cowman onto that Tracer. NZNR, he's going to have to step it up, definitely consistently beat out Cowman and the value that he can get.
So this is almost exactly the same as what we saw in the first series here, but it's going to be a crappy on the Lucio this time here. Not going to be bringing out the Ana for the side of AHQ. Dizzy bringing up his Soldier, so Fireball going to be needing to deal with this, and as well got to be watching out for Kalman because he's so strong at getting in those flanking positions.
And look at the difference as well. Fireball, unlike Machi, did not dive immediately straight onto Dizzy, who is now getting a ton of value, sitting in the back lines completely uncontested and still able to get shots on. There's not a huge amount of line of sight that you can use to block Dizzy's point of view.
Well, Apudo finding the dash there straight through Kalman, chopping him back to the spawn. So great start now for Fireball. They go for a very early sound barrier. They need to cash in here as Dizzy finds the mech of Ninth, so they do not have the defense matrix as Dizzy hitting the tactical visor, finding Rocket, looking for a second They're going to be committing the Transcendence as well here from both teams, actually, looking to force this fight away. Now, Apudo with the Dragon Blade out needs to come up large. Oh my goodness, the escape coming out from Lazy Titan, ever so elusive as Kalman makes his way back into the fight with a big double kill pulse bomb. Now just cleaning up the rest of Fireball, and what looked like a great start there for Fireball, they end up getting thwarted as AHQ can see far too ahead into the future.
And they threw out the early sound barrier as well, but that's when Dizzy pounced. He knew that he could get 9th low and in fact out of the mech entirely, and after that, it's just free kills for Dizzy with the tactical visor. And then throw on top of that the fact that Cowman got a double kill at the pulse bomb. Easy win there for AHQ, especially when Apudo found nothing with the Dragon Blade.
And you've got to applaud the communication there for the side of AHQ, you know, calling the Diva mech going down and the tactical visor coming through instantly. Rocket taken out very early into this fight. Kalman going to be right up in their faces there, finding the mech yet again. Eric going to be hitting that Primal Rage, doing decent amounts of damage there, all over Fireball, not even letting them really set up in the White Room there. And now AHQ holding on, just passing 40%. Fireball still scrambling to gain themselves position.
I mean, that is the case, right? Fireball did buy themselves a ton of time by contesting the point for a very long time. So AHQ, like you said, they're only sitting just under 50% now. Apudo is ready with the Dragon Blade once more. Picks up a
good
kill.
Start there, gets the reset. Now he's got the blade out, but there's that self-destruct, very nicely placed, going to buy them a lot of time. They do pick themselves up 2 kills, make that 3 here. They're going to be right on the point, looking to cap this one back. Great contest coming out from Lazy Titan, buying AHQ a lot of time. The respawn's almost up. Can they manage to make it back? But not as they take Crappy out there as well.
Boy.
Nice reset as well from Apudo, dishing out monstrous amounts of damage here on his Genji. Absolutely stand out. And now Fireball cap this one back as AHQ get themselves all the way up to 72%.
But AHQ made the call to throw out the sound barrier there just to survive a lot longer, and you saw that was the result of it, sure, but now they don't have that additional defensive tool to go into this next fight. In fact, they don't even have Transcendence either, which means that Fireball can just go absolutely nuts, unless Dizzy finds all the kills in the world with that tactical visor.
Well, 9th does have his self-destruct up as well, so a lot of defense matrix going to be able to block out Dizzy's tactical visor if they do opt to use it in this fight there. They already lose Kalman though, so this is already, I feel, a throwaway fight now for AHQ, looking to just build up some more ultimates. But oh my goodness, Karez, amazing shot yet again, finding that kill onto NZNA. That's greatly that's a great start now, as Crappy going to be able to boot 9th off the edge as well. So the self-destruct and the defense matrix not going to be able to find anything as Dizzy hits the tactical visor, picking up Kurlos, able to take down Tita Watt as well. And AHQ, even when they're in that disadvantage, just great communication all around, easily able to take this one off Fireball.
Always got to be worried about those long range across the battlefield right clicks coming out from the Zenyatta. One kill like that, and AHQ just click on straight away. They immediately go in. They knew that Cowman was very close to reinforcing them. But we've seen one good one and one bad one. We need a big Dragon Blade here for the best of 3 for Apudo.
Oh, but it's right into a Transcendence. Does he have enough to push it through? It looks like not here, as AHQ perfectly counterplay out Apudo's Dragon Blade, now getting themselves up to 97%, make that 99, and they are in complete control of the point. There's no bodies that Fireball can really throw at this one to contest, and that's going to be AHQ closing this out in decisive fashion.
Very strong play coming out from them. I mean, yes, Fireball, they managed to come back at one point, but it was when Apudo went incredibly big. All those resets, managing to pick up so many kills as well. And you've got to wonder how Fireball weren't able to pick up the first fight win, though, because we saw them get the early kill, but they still managed to lose the fight and lose the point. That was just AHQ keeping Dizzy safe and Dizzy uncontested.
And I mean, that is, again, the story always, I feel, when we watch Fireball play, you know, can Apudo come up big on his Genji? And we've seen other teams sort of stray away from that Genji play, you know, it's a little bit hit or miss. And having that soldier just makes you so consistent at being able to dish out that damage, not just relying on a big Dragon Blade to come through and clean these fights up. And AHQ, being so good at their positioning, have shown time and time again they can deal with the blade.
And Fireball, they've rushed to the point in similar ways to how Machi did it. It now puts the onus on AHQ, but they've risen to the challenge.
But NZNA getting taken out early is not what Fireball were looking for. Apudo almost dropping as well. And this is now disastrous as Fireball have been pushed onto the outskirts of this. They've got to be careful not to get knocked off the edge here as well. Kurlos, though, finding Kalman, So decent now as Fireball answer back, but Eric looking very low indeed. He's got to watch out to keep himself alive. If they manage to pick him up, that's a good piece of work there, but crappy Boop and Kurlos off the edge on the outskirts of the fight. Apudo's taken out as Kalman manages to get back into the fray, and as it looked like Fireball might have been able to get this first cap, AHQ now have the player advantage. A little bit of contest though coming out from Rocket, so you've got to give him credit for that. But now AHQ going to be picking the first cap up and almost having a tactical visor as well as that pulse bomb spot.
Yeah, I mean, they won that fight nice and decisively there, so they're coming up to both the defensive, the DPS ultimates, and Dizzy, he's going to go absolutely nuts because all they've got to do is bait out that sound barrier. Once that's gone, Dizzy can just throw out the tactical visor.
You got to check your corners here, mate, as Kalman managing to sneak around right behind him there. Looks like he was trying to set up for a big pulse bomb, but Eric hitting the Primal Rage onto the point, just wreaking havoc. That might be sending Tita to his doom there, and indeed Lazy Titans there to finish him off. And it just looks like Fireball getting picked apart right now. Very shaky piece of offense there. Kalman being so annoying getting into that flanking position, and he's just going to reset and do the same thing again.
And picked apart is definitely the way to look at it because AHQ committing minimal ultimates to that, only throwing out the Primal Rage, and that's an ult that you can get back up pretty easily. Fireball, however, they've got the Dragon Blade. We've seen it win them fights before, but we've also seen it get completely nothing. Hey, look, there's a Tracer behind you.
Yeah, NZNR again, not checking those corners. The sound barrier now for Fireball. They need to come up big into this fight. The self-destruct finds nothing there. They do commit. On top of that, the Transcendence coming through from Kerez, and now the fight being drawn out here. AHQ edging themselves ahead. The tactical visor from Dizzy. Ninth, nowhere to be seen, but also no enemies to be seen here for the likes of Dizzy. But just forcing back Fireball is all they need.
That move by AHQ, so they destroyed the mech for ninth, and straight away Dizzy threw out the tactical visor. This is a plan that was clearly in their head, but I'd say it's something that should have maybe been reined back a little bit because as soon as it happened, tactical visor clearly came out, but AHQ could have got away with not using that, so Fireball in the end actually outtrade them for ultimates and could come back in with a Dragon Blade.
Almost managing to find that kill onto Kalman. That would have been huge there, but now Lazy Titan taking Kurlos out again. Eric almost dropping, hitting his Primal Rage to keep him going alive through this. Apudo, yet again, the story coming up big with his Dragon Blade. Not today, buddy, as AHQ easily thwart that ultimate coming out from the Genji there. The self-destruct from ninth, finding a little bit for them, but surely not enough as AHQ just picking apart Fireball yet again, being able to pick themselves up night markets, leading Lijiang 2-0, and Fireball look like they have no answer for this.
Fireball never found themselves in a competitive position for a fight at that point. The best chance was that first fight, but AHQ immediately taking a pick from the start, forcing them out onto the ledge. And then after that, it was just Fireball trying to find a position to get into a next fight, either to bait out some ultimates from AHQ or just use their own to win. But I never saw them in a situation where that was really something that they could take away, go away with.
I mean, I guess the reactionary play as well coming out from AHQ, you know, Kalman always getting himself in those very forward positions, being able to relay that information to the rest of his team, and they're able to have, you know, a few seconds before the fight starts to really spread out and get themselves in those stronger positions here. And now they're going to be going back to that Sombra play and to see if this can work against Fireball.
And the same thing applies to Fireball. Those flankers will be shut down by getting hacked either by the right click or the EMP. It doesn't matter. Those heroes are so vulnerable if it ever happens to them. But they can go very aggressive on this first fight. It's what Marchi did. Fireball need to do it too because no EMP will be available for Kerez.
Dizzy hasn't gone for his elder position just yet as he stays with the rest of the team. They find Kurlos, but Crappy actually dies somehow, might have fallen off the edge or something there. He's actually taken out into this fight, so Fireball could look to move in and continue to push on. NZNR taking out Eric is a great start for them here.
They get a cap.
Kalman not being able to really contest up there as Fireball do indeed pick themselves up the first cap, and AHQ looking like they're going to have to reset here, but Fireball need to pick themselves up some of these kills, especially onto Kalman here. Apudo needs to hunt him down. Now he's very low. Oh, gets to the health
careful.
back, and the team just in time.
And actually with his deflect down, that's just going to be him taken down anyway. And now they've got the EMP. This is surely where AHQ come up big and just take the point.
And we've seen this as well from Kerez getting himself in these great positions to set these EMPs up. and AHQ don't even have to use anything there. Just take the cap straight back off Fireball. No thank you, mate. That's ours. We'll be having this one back. And now Karez looking to set up for the EMP. Lands it in a perfect position there. They should be able to deal with Knight's mech very easily, but the sound barrier now for the side of Fireball really helping them out. But AHQ have some beats of their own to drop, and indeed it's going to be able to push them through this one. The pulse bomb from NZNR falling short as Dizzy takes him out, and now uncontested finds Kurlos as well, looking to find himself a third hit onto a Pudo. He connects, and this is just all AHQ.
And I said it before in the Marchi series, this is a great composition. Oh my boobs. This is a great composition for entrenching themselves on the point. Now that AHQ have it, there's so much to answer. You've got to find Dizzy, take him out. You've got to worry about the EMP in the big open space. That is the point. This is a team that is great at defending against that. And Fireball, the onus is on them to do it. AHQ can just sit in their new home.
I mean, you've got to find Crappy at this point. He's just been an absolute machine on this Lucio here. But as we saw Kalman sitting in a great position, it looks like NZNA's able to get into a nice flanking position of his own. Apudo doing a great job at contesting Dizzy. This is very nice for them, but again, this is absolutely great stuff from AHQ. As every time Apudo tries to challenge and get these kills, there's always an extra AHQ player there. And now easily able again to pick apart the side of Fireball. They just try to retreat, and as they do, AHQ hunt them down.
And this is similar to what we saw on Night Market as well. Apudo holding onto that Dragon Blade forever for the entire match, and it's going to come down once more to what could be the final fight. He can throw out the Dragon Blade once more. It has to come up big, but so much can shut it down, including an EMP.
The very aggressive EMP coming out from AHQ, and we've seen them do this before. So aggressive and so confident in these situations, getting right into the thick of things there, not even letting Fireball through the door. Is this a door camping team? You've mentioned it before, Smite. It's not the setup there. The Dragon Blade only finding Crappy, definitely not enough, as Dizzy hitting the tactical visor, overtime ticking down, slight contest coming out from Fireball, but really there's nothing they can do here as AHQ are far ahead on ultimates, far ahead on position, and far ahead on skill.
And that's the great thing as well about Sombra, is that all those annoying Traces and Winstons and Genjis that jump onto the point in overtime, you can just hack them. And suddenly they're not that annoying target that is just buying the team overtime anymore, while Fireball are getting some overtime. There's no hope for them to come back, and AHQ take out Lijiang Tower, no contest.
3-0, AHQ looking very dominant against Fireball. I really expected a little bit more of a showing here from Fireball coming into the series, but AHQ showing their strength here, and Crappy, what a beast on the Lucio.
Pretty sure you love this guy here, because Crappy, look at him, just double boop, why not? Throw two people off the edge. I mean, looks like Dizzy stole the kill there.
There's another one as well. He's going to be able to fight into the mech as well. You know, that's huge.
Yeah, I mean, look, getting a kill on D.Va, throwing her off the edge is actually huge because it gets you a huge amount of ultimate charge as a Lucio, right? Usually you're relying on, just healing everyone and occasionally hitting some left clicks to get your ultimate charge up. But you knock someone off the edge, that counts as 600 points of damage if it's a D.Va. And also, I believe you kill the baby D.Va too, so 750 hit points, and that gets you so much ultimate charge for a Lucio who's usually relying on the small amount of healing that Lucio does.
I mean, if you're ninth in that position there, I mean, do you try to sort of keep yourself alive and go for the suicide? But I mean, because you are looking for the reset at that point, you know, they know the fight's over for them, but to give that much ult charge up to Crappy is obviously such a disaster for the side of Fireball there. And I mean, every sort of moment they had, you know, that looked like it was going Fireball's way, AHQ are just able to sort of dismantle every little piece that Fireball have. You know, they have that player advantage. Karez on the Zenyatta picking up, you know, a huge headshot onto NZNR, and they're right back in the fight.
So the long-range right-click headshots from Zenyatta, they are a thing, and you do have to be aware of them, but they're not always going to be something that you can rely on. So it's great that AHQ are able to capitalize on that, but I mean, let's not forget, they're also a team that's in the top 3, locked into playoffs, and Fireball struggling to stay, well, not struggling, they're confirmed not in relegations, but they were the next closest team, right? So this is a pretty far mismatch in terms of who's favored to win, but Fireball, they're giving a good showing, I've got to say, but we have been expecting more out of them in a lot of their most recent matches. They have been improving a lot. You mentioned Titawat being new on the roster, so the fact is, I think there's still more to come out of Fireball, but unfortunately, that was also Control. That was one of their better map types, and they just got 3-0'd on it.
Well, taking a look at the quick replay here, I mean, we see, AHQ find, I guess, a stronger position overall here, as they gain control of the outside health pack very early there. And Apudo only there to challenge. Does have Rocket come up and try to get up there, but it's already hacked, and, that's a very big disadvantage for them.
The other big thing as well is that Crappy hangs out on the outer balcony quite a lot as well, but he does get taken down. And even though that's 2 kills for AHQ right now. Sorry, actually, that's a trade. I lied. Fireball should be the team that are aggressing, and they're not quite managing to do that. They do brute force themselves onto the point. AHQ recognize this. They respect it. They're going to back off, especially after Fireball finally managed to pick up 2 kills, mostly from the Lucio control on the balcony, right? Because when you've got a Sombra up there, you want to control that health pack. You want to constantly teleport back there. But if there's a Lucio nearby, it's going to knock you off the edge. So Fireball, yeah, they have a good showing in that initial attack, but that again is also, it's the moment in time when the AHQ team comp is probably at its weakest.
Well, the other thing there as well is that, they leave Dizzy again. He gets a little bit of a contest after they get the lead there, but once, you can't deal with it, it's just great, do you know what I mean? Because he's in such a strong position to really answer back in that second attack. And this here, I love this here coming out from AHQ, and this is what I was talking about in the Marchi series, the door camp. Even though it's not a door camp as such, it's getting that very aggressive fight before you even let Fireball set up. And I mean, AHQ have been very strong in sort of showcasing this ability of theirs, sort of reading the time on the map, really forcing the enemy team into these fights they don't want to take.
The other thing as well is that they can punish the huge open space, because straight out of the spawn, there's not a lot of line of sight. So EMP is going to hit everyone. And yeah, we can praise Crappy for getting the double boops a huge amount in that fight, in that match, because that's a big thing, right? You're immediately killing 2 people. But a lot of heroes are hard to knock off the edge because they've got abilities. Winston will just jump back up. Genji can just dash back up or wall climb. But you EMP, you shut down those abilities, and if even if Genji's too far away to wall climb, he's not going to get back up. So it does make for very easy fights for AHQ to win if they fight even past the door. They don't want to work on the choke point.
And the final sort of point I wanted to sort of talk about there was Apudo on his Genji. Although it's very strong, when you're trying to close in, on the soldier, that's obviously the target that you want to take down. The side of AHQ is obviously so good on their level of communication, on their ability to help each other out. And then, you've got Kalman, a player that can start putting that pressure on when Dizzy needs help. So the thing is it's so hard for them to deal with just the general flexibility of these AHQ players there. But Fireball going to be picking up King's Row, our, I guess, player favorite hybrid map here. And I mean, Fireball, again, been very strong on here, but the thing is they have to, as I was sort of mentioning about Dizzy's Soldier, if they opt for that Soldier composition, which we've seen AHQ doing time and time again, it's going to be very, very difficult for them to deal with it, because what I was sort of going for there was Apudo on the Genji, or any Genji player as a whole, the fight has to be set up very well. He has to sort of initiate the fight with a reset almost, because once you go in there, these players are so good at this point, where, I mean, we've seen Helix rockets land on Genji's midair.
Yeah.
So when you put yourself in these really aggressive situations, AHQ are definitely a team that can punish Apudo when he gets in there. So it's very hard for him to showcase his true Genji ability, because he needs the rest of the team to step up and be with him.
So surprisingly, in a team game, you need your entire team to work out for the victory. But no, you do make some pretty good points, right? Against AHQ, who have shown the ability to run triple tank on King's Row, as well as still run with that Winston Diva composition, stick a soldier up in the window, they can run different things on here. So very likely to just run the 2-2-2, keep Dizzy up in the window, which will put the onus once more on Fireball to go up and deal with Dizzy. And so we've seen teams send up 1 or 2 people to go and deal with Dizzy, and immediately, like that, Lazy Titan's up there, but only if he needs to be up there, right? If Dizzy makes the call and says, I can handle it, guys. You're like, it's only a Genji, or it's only a Diva, or hey, it's only both of them. Just puts down the biotic field, duels them anyway, and if he needs to, will jump out. So it's only when he needs to make that call, which means that AHQ are actually winning the fight on the ground because they've got more numbers down there, because Lazy Titan can afford to just stay down there instead.
Well, Dizzy is one of these players, almost like Zonda as well, where they really like to, I guess, be their own man, be that lone wolf up in the window there. I'm an independent man who don't need no diva to come save me. And so that's the whole thing, is that I've seen time and time again where they're very confident at sitting up there, and he won't even really need Lazy Titan to come up and help him out. So it is something they are going to have to deal with. Moments away from getting into Kings Row. Fireball taking on AHQ. AHQ leading the series 1-0 so far. This is going to be Fireball's pick. Let's hope they've got something in the strat book for us.
I expect Fireball to play how they usually do on Kings Row. I mean, we saw a surprise on Marchi coming out on Hollywood, but Fireball, they do like to run pretty standard dive on that attack, but when they go into the defense, there's the chance of triple tank coming out. In fact, with the Reinhardt composition, this could be Fireball here, in fact. I'm not going to make the call because I know AHQ do run this composition as well, but I saw the Roadhog too. There it is. So there's actually going to be no Diva, which means there's not a lot of flexibility for them to go up to that high ground to defend any kind of soldiers up there.
But this, I like to title this one the "Come at Me, Bro" composition, where I mean, even if you are on the ground, you still got to get down onto the point and essentially challenge them there. And the team like this, which is, I guess, so much health to sort of get through, so many shields to get through, all it requires is one hook coming through from the Hog, and that can spell disaster and split a massive hole in your offense.
Just a moment of silence for this.
The rave party around the back door. But yeah, I, honestly, before we got into this one, I was going to sort of mention I wanted to see the triple tank coming out from Fireball, so you love to see it.
You love to see it. Do AHQ love to play against it though, because Aputo is going to be on the McCree as well to shut down any flankers. But AHQ, look at this, they're running the triple tank as well. Both of these compositions, very, very similar. The difference is going to be that soldier versus that McCree. In fact, even both the supports are running the Ana as well, but AHQ have already rushed onto the point.
Oh, Ninth is absolutely deleted from the server there. Great start for AHQ. Ninth actually kills himself in that engagement for NZ now coming out on top of the Hog v Hog duel, and Aputo on the low ground here has already let Dizzy get up onto the high ground, but this is it here, the come at me bro composition. Even trades now across the board, but still Dizzy up in this high ground. They can't deal with him just yet, and they're already being forced back off the point. AHQ getting the cap very quickly, the contest coming through, but it's not enough as AHQ's offense just blows through the brick wall of Fireball.
And Fireball going to stick to the composition after losing the point basically as fast as they possibly could. Aputo has got a lot of ult charge so far, but that's going to take a long time to lock on all of those tank targets. Your best hope really is breaking the Reinhardt barrier with all the damage it can do, and even that isn't going to be allowed to happen.
Yeah, not really too sure of the usage of Deadeye there. It's great, basically bought them a grand total of 6 seconds or something along these lines.
Because the payload's moving anyway.
So very questionable here, but here comes the Graviton Surge as well, out for the side of AHQ. Don't even need anything through that, just the hammer of Eric in there as he just wipes out these few Fireball players left. Now they do have a whole Hog and a Shatter as well to work with, and the boost. So, I mean, AHQ just snowballing their way through the streets.
Have AHQ got somewhere to be after this series? Because they are just trying to win it as fast as possible. And Fireball are not bringing much to the table to stop them. AHQ, like you said, they still have a bunch of ultimates to use, specifically Dizzy and that Tactical Visor. Fireball are a team composition, not running Diva. Your best hope is that barrier. And Dizzy is a player that can get in great positions, and all the barriers in the world are not going to matter if they're facing the wrong way.
Oh,
or broken by a Hog.
Going to just look to blow that wall down. It's going to be Eric just looking to set up that Earthshatter. Great counterplay into the entire side of Fireball as they look to set up that Graviton Surge. When Fireball, you give AHQ an inch and they'll take a mile right there as they don't go for that correct setup, and AHQ punish them yet again.
And Earthshatter is actually one of my favorite counters to a Graviton Surge because, yeah, you might not be able to follow up on it, but the enemy team is not going to be able to follow up on the Graviton either. And AHQ now, speaking of Gravitons, have one of their own. If they can pick up one here, they can charge up everyone's ult. In fact, Eriken gets 1 or 2 swings into that pile, and suddenly you've got another Earthshatter on the table. But still, remember, it's on Fireball to come in and engage on this. AHQ are happy to keep the payload trucking along to the second corner.
And Dizzy, a little bit of parkour up onto the high ground. Now the Graviton Surge coming out for the side of AHQ. Doesn't even need to use the Tactical Visor just yet. Going to drop it to probably clean up these few kills as AHQ already 4-man advantage. Make that 5. Kurlos all by his lonesome now, just on the Ana there. Won't be able to contest at all when AHQ look at the aggression right up in the respawn door here. Not letting Fireball get out and contest contest at all. The payload very, very close. Greatly placed Earth Shatter.
Oh, no!
Nice hook there, though, from NZNR to send Eric into his doom. And now this is a great piece of defense from Fireball. The best showing they've had all Kings Row, but that is getting extremely close towards the end. Just a few meters away from capping it out, and AHQ still finding the kills. Nice sleep dart to stop the hog. But where are the rest of these Fireball players? They're just getting picked off one by one here. It's just going to be Tita Watt and a Dream. The Reinhardt, he does indeed have Kurlos to back him up. The boost probably should have come out there, but no, there is nothing at all. They should have just committed the boost, and in just extremely quick fashion, AHQ all the way to the end, cap out Kings Row.
Wow, okay, so AHQ, that's a very, very difficult time to beat. And Fireball, luckily for them, they are a team comp that will run dive. They will run a lot more aggression on the attack, which has the possibility of doing the exact same thing, winning fights so heavily and then pushing very far forward and getting the payload very far with very little contest. But the problem is, they're going to have to do it perfectly. They're not going to be able to lose a single fight if they want a competitive time in going into time bank, right? Because AHQ have so much into the next round. So while it's possible for Fireball to bring something out even with a lower amount of time, it's going to be difficult after what we just saw.
You know, I want to say, like, you know, spirits are high there on the side of AHQ, but I've noticed, you know, you've got Lazy Titan, and he's always so stern looking. You know, even when they're just absolutely demolishing there on Kings Row, he's still like, guys, we still have to defend, like. And the rest of the team are like, yeah, we just did such a great job. And he's like, settle down, settle down.
I think the players know where the cameras usually are at the start of these matches, and they intentionally run the Bastion past to get us all hyped up, get us excited. I saw May run past as well, but they very quickly just ran back, swapped it back over. But look, AHQ, they don't have a hard job to do here. They can get an acceptable result even if Fireball push it all the way to the end in overtime. They clearly can't let Fireball do the exact same thing to them, but look, again, it's just
clearly can't or clearly won't?
Clearly both. But look, easy, Fireball have such an impossible task for them. Look, I will give them most improved team of the century if they can manage to get the same result there as AHQ did. But
let's go with the eat a shoe bet again.
Look, no, I don't have any shoes left after I lost the last time. But Fireball, 100% dive, running a Pudo onto that Genji, and we've seen very mixed results with a lot more failures coming out from the Dragon Blades than success.
And look at this from AHQ, just charging right at Fireball, right out of the gate there. Just almost walking all over him is the best way to describe it there. As the few players from Fireball just get stomped back into the spawn. Kurlos and Rocket, the two supports, not long for this world at all. And Dizzy just being like, guys, please let them come in. I want to shoot them.
So that's actually AHQ recognizing Fireball's plan to win, right? They know they want to go move the entire team up to contest Dizzy. And AHQ move forward, punish them for it, because look, they're going to do the same thing. But AHQ, will they punish them once more? They will.
And they'll push them back into that enclosed back corridor area on the stairs there. NZNR trying to just jump out and contest Kalman. Kalman wipes him out. They do find a small kill onto Kerez. Apudo getting the dash onto Crappy now. Can he sustain himself through this though from the pressure of Kalman? That's the real question here. And now Apudo with the Dragon Blade, if they can manage to find themselves another pick here, dodging the Helix Rocket, very decent here. Get up there and contest them, boy.
They do have a window because the respawns are still coming back for AHQ because of the longer run distance. Apudo's got to go big.
And now Tita Watt, great positioning here, can really get in and do a lot of damage. I don't think he should have pulled back just yet. Really could have got that Primal Rage up, but the nano boosted Kalman dealing with the back line there. The Pulse Bomb taking out the mech as well. And just perfect picking of the targets there coming up from Kalman as he finds Rocket as well. And that's really going to be stopping that Fireball attack yet again.
And if Fireball ever had a window to go in, it was then, and unfortunately they couldn't find it. At least they didn't throw away ultimates into a losing fight, so they still have that hope. But Dizzy, he's still got Tactical Visor. It's going to be all on Ninth to get up there with the defense matrix, but AHQ have shown they are a team that does not let anyone near their Dizzy.
Oh, the Earth Shatter coming through, at least connects with 3 there. Great stuff, and the self-destruct on top from Lazy Titan, just bombing Apudo back to the spawn as well there. And again, another throwaway fight for Fireball, going to have to reset yet again. And AHQ only committing 2 ultimates into that one, still have so much in the bank, Smite.
Oh my god, I don't think I've ever seen a team push that far forward apart from my solo queue games, but look, AHQ are just looking untouchable here on Kings Row against Fireball. And I said it at the start of the match, I thought NZNR was a fantastic tracer compared to Kalman. I take that back entirely. In this current performance, Cowman is absolutely going off, being a massive tracer. Pulse bombs galore, and always finding the kills in the back line.
And there goes Cowman throwing out that pulse bomb, just lobs it right into Rocket's face there. Great start yet again for AHQ. And it's just going to be Cowman sitting up in the hotel. Great position there, not going to be able to let any of these Fireball players retreat if Dizzy can just pick them down. And indeed, there we go, Cowman just getting these retreating players back and just stopping these Fireball offenses before they can even begin.
Easy, we've got 1 minute to go for Fireball to crack open the first point, and even then AHQ will still have a huge amount of time in the time bank anyway, even if Fireball can get it all the way to the end. But at this point, AHQ were pushing up to the end of the third checkpoint, and Fireball are still struggling to even get kills.
And in classic Fireball fashion, the Dragon Blade still being held by Apudo. He has to come up big here. The double sound barrier coming out. Eric, I do believe, threw out the Earth Shatter through into this fight. Wouldn't have been too massive there, but it is going to be indeed AHQ just edging themselves ahead. The Tactical Visor picking up one with the Helix rocket onto Apudo, sniping out Kurlos as well, and AHQ just throwing out the pew pew there. There is nothing that Fireball can do.
Well, look, Apudo, he's going to have to get 6 kills with that Dragon Blade. Let's make it 7, just because there's a Diva that's going to pop out of that mix. So Fireball have a huge amount of pressure on them right now. This is their last push. They have 3 seconds to go.
Oh no, Apudo, you're so close to dying there. Almost absolute disaster, which is really the tail of the tape for this King's Row match here. But this is going to be it. He needs to come up big, but oh, what an absolutely huge sleep dart into self-destruct. Lazy Titan not having a bar of it at all, picking up a double, and AHQ in great strength here, not dropping any players here, wiping out Fireball, overtime ticking down, and AHQ will take King's Row.
That was entirely the most one-sided map I've seen in the entire Pacific Championship. Fireball just got demolished. They're still hoping to look high in spirits, but 2-0 down, and after that performance, AHQ should be looking nice and easy to get in there for that third win.
Well, you can see AHQ, the spirits are high, the handshake's going through there as well. I mean, just what an absolute performance. I thought Fireball, might have been able to have a bit of a decent showing here, but AHQ are looking good. Oh, Lazy Titan got one of his own there with the hook off the edge. Didn't manage to catch that one from the overview there, but my goodness, because I mean, everyone on AHQ was just playing absolutely flawlessly that match.
I mean, Fireball managed to pick up a few kills there, but I'd be surprised. I'd be surprised to see if there were more than 10 kills for Fireball in that entire King's Row, right? On their attack, they killed about 3 people, right? And that was, again, I said they had a window to go in while those respawns were coming back. It's a very small window and a very tough ask to say that Fireball needs to go in and take advantage of that, but that's their best shot. After how AHQ handled every single other fight, there was no hope of Fireball winning a 6v6.
Exactly that. When he had the Dragon Blade up and he jumped up and went up for Dizzy, I was just like, go get him, boy. This is your only chance. You're going to have to come up big. Even if he committed the Dragon Blade just to killing Dizzy, that would have definitely been their best chance, I feel. AHQ leading this series now 2-0. We're going to be getting into Assault next, and obviously AHQ with the home side advantage. It's going to be their pick. Fireball backs against the wall here, and I mean AHQ just outclassing them in this series, really sort of showing why they are going to be playing in the playoffs.
I'm really glad to see AHQ really stepping up their game in the final weekend of the round robin, because we've got to see what they're going to be capable of once we come to playoffs, of course. They cannot get higher than second place right now, so they will have the away side in 1 out of the 3 possible matches against Blank when we come into playoffs. So it's good to see them coming in as strong as possible. And after tonight, I'm expecting Blank to really have a run for their money, because before tonight, AHQ having a bit of a fall, not looking so hot, but tonight against Fireball at least, they are just demolishing, and this is what Blank are going to be terrified of seeing in the playoffs.
So our top 3 teams there are confirmed to be in the playoffs. Flash Wolves will be sitting pretty on the throne, waiting for the winner of Blank Esports and AHQ next weekend. So it's going to be a 3-day affair there. Blank Esports taking on AHQ on the Friday night. They're going to be best of 7. Blank will have the home side advantage into that. Then on Saturday, AHQ take on Blank Esports. best of 7 there as well. And then on Sunday, if needed, if both of these teams draw that one out, that's going to be the decider. Again, yet another best of 7. So just a little bit of information on how those playoffs are going to work next weekend. And we talked about this before, AHQ showing, the players have always shown a lot of flexibility in regards to what they can play. But some of these compositions are very, very dynamic in the way that they're sort of playing them. They haven't really been using them as much throughout the tournament here. And now that AHQ have shown us a little bit more depth in their compositions, you know, bringing out Roadhogs from time to time now, it's just an absolute joy to watch. And they're just one of the most fun teams to watch in the OPC, in my opinion.
100%. Very, very fun to watch. I mean, Fireball are fun to watch too, on the play cams mostly, but when Apudo goes big, he does actually get some fantastic results. And NZ&R, when he's not being completely outclassed, is still, in my opinion, a very fantastic tracer. He's just not finding the space he needs to in this match. I mean, here we can see on the replay, right, it's going to be, this is, I believe, yeah, HQ on attack, and this is where they just won immediately. And Dizzy actually manages to get up into that window where you can see Keres also losing 9th at the start, not the best result. And this is where AHQ will simply just pounce, right?
Yeah, see, the key to success there was definitely Dizzy up in that window there. You saw Kurlos was sitting up there, and once Dizzy sort of makes his way around, he's having none of that. He's only got to be able to drop out of the window. I mean, Apudo landed a couple of nice headshots there, you know, took out Crappy as well, but smartly, they do fall back off that very early, but they really needed to stabilize and set themselves up a decent defense in the streets phase. But I mean, on that next piece of offense coming through from AHQ, they bait out the Deadeye perfectly, just fall back. I believe Apudo threw the flashbang trying to drop the Reinhardt shield, missed that one completely, and then went straight into the Deadeye. Obviously, AHQ being very smart, just rolled back, not even worried about that. And then in their next fight, Graviton Surge, perfectly timed. I mean, that went exactly to plan there. And I mean, these final few moments here were just franticness coming out from Fireball and AHQ just so very composed.
And that was actually the best opportunity for Fireball to come back as well. They got a hook on to Eric N, who then proceeded to fall down the hole. So that's one big defensive tool that AHQ didn't have, but you can see clearly because Fireball was still struggling to find any kind of space at all on their own payload at the end of the 3rd checkpoint, AHQ was still picking up kills. They were still sending Fireball back to the spawn room, and there was even enough time for Eric to get back.
And there was that moment there as well that we just saw was when, if they'd thrown out the nano boost, I mean, I'm not saying that's going to win them the match, but I mean, at that moment, your back's against the wall. You've got nothing that you can really do in this situation. You're about to lose the Reinhardt on the point there. Just throw the nano boost. You've got to do it. You have to do it. And I mean, they finished that match up there without the nano boost being thrown out. And I mean, they might have been able to stabilize themselves. I don't think they would have been able to hold cap 3, but I mean, they wouldn't have got completely stomped in the way that they did there.
Yeah, that's the most important thing to take away from that, is that what we just saw on screen there was Fireball's best showing on King's Row against AHQ, and it didn't look pretty. It did not look pretty. I think they got 2, maybe 3 kills during that fight, and it still ended up them losing the 3rd checkpoint, which, by the way, is one of the easier points for a team to find a final defense on, right? You've got the respawns right there. You can eventually flood onto it, but AHQ were still winning the fight so much that they managed to cap it all the way to the end. And so for that to be Fireball's best showing on the map shows that AHQ are just in a completely different league compared to Fireball on King's Row.
I mean, taking a look at, I guess, the general defense from AHQ, here was, I guess, the final few moments of King's Row there. You know, Apudo coming through with the Dragon Blade, can't really connect, but the self-destruct from Lazy Titan was absolutely huge. The sleep dart that landed onto Apudo's Dragon Blade as he went through the archway there as well. Just immaculate play from AHQ across the board. I just don't even know what to, if you're Fireball, I mean, we've got to really be thinking, goodness me, we've got so far to go to be able to compete with these boys.
Also, just to mention very quickly the positioning on both the self-destructs, actually, because they were both placed in exactly the same point, and they both had 100% coverage of the point itself, unless you're hiding behind that lamppost, which somehow blocks self-destruct, which, you know, we'll wonder about that question later. But it also had complete line of sight through the archway itself, so it did zone out the defenders. It also zoned out the attackers, who have to be on the point at that time, because we're in overtime. So it just put both teams in a bit of an awkward spot, but with Apudo having a snooze behind the arch, with his Dragon Blade out, by the way.
Can't be sleeping on the job, mate.
It was very easy for AHQ to pick up the win there, and because they had to stay on the point anyway, Fireball actually lost 2 members to that self-destruct.
And I guess the other thing to note here as well is, AHQ have been looking very, very strong, obviously, in their first matchup against Marchi, now taking on Fireball. Looking towards the rest of the night, Flash Wolves are going to be taking on Fireball as well after this matchup here. So it's going to be very interesting to see how Flash Wolves do against Fireball. If they do drop a map, very unlikely that it would happen, but it will be very interesting to see. And then obviously taking on Hong Kong Attitude as well. But we are going to go to a short break, and when we return, map number 3 of AHQ taking on Fireball. Hello and welcome back to the Overwatch Pacific Championship English broadcast. I'm Dallas Easy Fighter. Joining me here as per usual, Matt Smite Ross, and we are currently seeing if Fireball can take on the might of AHQ. They are currently leading the series 2-0. We're about to get into Assault. It is indeed going to be AHQ's pick, as they do have that home side advantage, but they don't really need the home side advantage, as Kings Row was over in an absolute flash. And control was very much the same there, AHQ looking very dominant.
Look, if you're a Fireball fan right now, you've got to be raising your hands, giving all your energy over to them, because they are struggling right now. And I said it just before the break, is that AHQ look like they're in a completely separate league to them right now. Marchi were a little bit competitive. I mean, they even took one stage off them in control, but AHQ, yeah, they're showing everyone why they are a team in the top 3, why they deserve to be in the playoffs right now. So Fireball, it's really looking unlikely for them right now to take a map off them, but look, they've got to have a good showing. Maybe even consider getting a Pudo back onto the Soldier. I mean, we all praise his Genji, but right now it's just feeling completely shut down by AHQ.
So AHQ taking us back to Temple of Anubis, looking very strong on this against Marchi. Sort of showed us their point 2 piece of offense was very, very good. And their defense as well, very interesting sort of lineup they go with there, and it just shows, I guess, a lot of strength and a lot of flexibility of the team.
Yeah, I mean, AHQ showed that they had planning on Temple of Anubis, right, where they did manage to get up to the second point, and they didn't cap it all in one go, sure, but they did cap it third by third, eventually got it all the way there, and Marchi, unfortunately, weren't able to contest that. And Marchi are a team that are currently looking a little bit better than Fireball right now, to say the least. So I've got to say, I mean, if AHQ wanted to show that they had somewhere to be after Kings Row, they are going to steamroll through Temple of Anubis, unless Fireball can pull out a miracle right now.
The lads from AHQ probably have some hot dates lined up tonight. Obviously, being one of the top teams in AHQ, they're like, chop chop lads, got dinner with the missus.
Just kidding, they probably have scrims after this.
Well, they're definitely going to need them coming up against Blank Esports next week. But talking about what you brought up just before about Apudo on that Genji, it's something that Fireball have always sort of fallen back on, and it's sort of been, I think, the biggest weakness is that the only strategy that's generally worked out for them is that dive composition that works for them. And if they can sort of change that up, especially for Season 2, I think they're going to find a lot more success.
I mean, of course, that's a long-term goal, but right now, if you are Fireball, you're looking for that third map to finally find a win on. But the problem is, I talk about, hey, look, maybe it's time to have a look at getting a Pudo onto Soldier, but unfortunately, it's a map that's kind of hard to fit Soldier into, especially on attack, so I do still expect Fireball to run a Pudo on Genji, and we actually saw Cowman from AHQ have some very amazing plays on Anubis specifically, so a Pudo, by all means, can find those plays too, so yes, that can happen. Yes, Fireball can have a competitive match here against AHQ, but I mean, we keep talking about how Apudo has to do everything. It's entirely possible that he can carry his team to capturing a point here, but also the rest of his team is going to have to step up too. They can't just rely on getting into Apudo's backpack.
Exactly that. They're moments away now from getting into Temple of Anubis. Fireball taking on AHQ in what I believe to be is AHQ's last match of the round robin as well, before we will see them in the finals. So this could indeed be the last time we see them play the group play here, and it's been an absolute pleasure watching them, obviously. And what you've just mentioned as well about that, it's sort of being on the team. Kalman wouldn't have been able to get away with that amazing sort of flank play on his Genji if it wasn't for the rest of his team creating such a ruckus up in the big health pack room on the high ground. So we've seen obviously AHQ know how to really split up, their team and create, a lot of focus elsewhere, apart from the main point which they're trying to obviously get away with, Kalman on the flank. Let's see if Fireball can find some openings here with 9th on the Widow.
Easy, are you ready for some ego contests right now? It's going to be the Widow versus Widow, but Apudo, he's already taken out the opposing Widow.
Well, we talked badly about Apudo's Genji almost, and now it's coming up big here. 2 quick kills there. Knight's finding that pick onto Eric here, and Fireball just busting out of the gates here. AHQ looking a little bit shaken up. Don't even know what hit them as Fireball just come in with the sucker punch and looking like they're going to be able to get this first cap very, very quickly.
Is this the same team that we just saw on King's Row? AHQ just give up the point entirely. I mean, that's the right decision to make here. But now they're going to be in a tough call here because Fireball are going to be marching onto the second point. And Apudo, he's coming up close to the Dragon Blade. He can get it during the fight. But now that they have a Sombra on the side, he's got to watch out for that hack. But this is also the moment to go in before EMP is going to be a thing.
Yeah, if Kyrus can get himself up that EMP just on the timing of Fireball coming in, that could be disaster. But Fireball, if they can come off this momentum of cap number 1 and really work their way in, this will be huge here. But Eric saying absolutely no way as AHQ just collapse onto Apudo as he tries to gain position. Now NZNR caught out in the back lines. No one to help him at all. Fireball do manage to find themselves a nice little trade, but now Career's getting very, very close to that EMP, and things are about to get hard for Fireball.
Yeah, I mean, Fireball won that fight so handily that they didn't actually have a huge amount of ultimates because the fight was over so quickly. They also had a Widowmaker that they swapped off. Now they can come in with the Dragon Blade, with the Transcendence, and maybe a Sound Barrier during it. This may be a time to go in with that pick.
Indeed, they do find that kill onto Dizzy, and that's a good start for them. The Pulse Bomb still in NZNR's bank there. Crappy getting taken down as well. What is going on, Smite? Here comes that EMP from Careers. Can AHQ find themselves an answer? And Lazy Titan is there to answer the call. Indeed, double kill coming out from that. And Kalman and Dizzy looking to pick up some of the scraps in the back lines. Absolutely huge start there for the side of AHQ on their defense, now looking to stabilize.
And now it's going to be AHQ's turn to hold on to all of those ultimates. Dragon Blade, if Apudo can't do it, maybe Kalman can succeed where he could not. He's got Dragon Blade ready to go. AHQ, they build up the EMP so quickly. I feel like this is going to be a repeat against Marchi where they just hold them out in the courtyard here, just continuously EMP them and wipe them clean.
And I mean, you'd love to see that aggression coming out from the side of AHQ time after time. And indeed, you see, it is indeed Kiri setting himself up in a position. The Pulse Bomb going to be doing all the work here as now the Kalman and Dizzy just walking over these last few remaining Fireball players who are looking to escape with their life. But NZNR sent back as well, can't make it to the health pack at all. And AHQ now resetting, looking to do the exact same thing again.
Here's a really cool thing about the way AHQ are holding it here. It also denies even more health packs for Kurlos to pick up, right? Because he can't get to the health pack right outside the archway in that room, so he's really relegated to like a single health pack very far on the right side, which isn't really viable to use. And this is just being held so far forward.
Speaking of relegation, Fireball narrowly avoiding that here. And this performance is just the tale of the series here. AHQ just being so dominant now. It looks like they're almost the attacking team as they are taking Fireball all the way back to the spawn room and not even letting them get through the first archway.
And the other thing about holding it this far forward is that if AHQ do start losing some of these fights, they actually have more time than they usually would to regroup with the respawns onto the second checkpoint. So they've got a whole lot of their risks actually hedged in how far they are pushing forward. Fireball, though, have been losing this fight so much.
Can't even get his way in there. And I mean, he's made that change off the Genji to the Soldier. Won't be long for this world here as Kalman hits the Dragon Blade now, looking to clean up a few of these players. But out of nowhere, Fireball finding an opening now. The Pulse Bomb taking the mech out. They've got no defense matrix to work with. Now it's a battle of these Winstons on the point. Eric looking to take out Kurlos on that Sombra. Can he get away with his life? He does manage to survive. But now they've got NZNR back into the fray as well. But he's going to have to retreat as Titawat gets taken out by the Pulse Bomb from Dizzy. And AHQ, just as per usual, just destroy Fireball on that piece of offense. And now look to set up again on this aggressive defense.
Primal Rage, there was nothing that Fireball could have done about that, and they paid the price for it, right? All of AHQ were able to respawn, in fact, so well that they didn't even have to commit a few more ultimates to it. Pulse Bomb was enough to clean it up, and now we're back to business as usual. AHQ looking to camp them right out in the courtyard here.
And business is indeed booming for AHQ as the EMP finds its mark there. Kalman with the dash straight through onto Kurlos, but now NZNR finds himself a mech. This again is a slightly good opening here for the side of Fireball. The Helix rocket onto Eric, but still, they don't have enough to follow up with this. And AHQ just turfing them out of the front gate.
And every time Fireball find a fight where, hey, look, we've got maybe an advantage, maybe we can go in with it. Unless it's just a 6-0, then they're going into the point with 4 or 5 people, which is just not ideal when you're trying to cap the second point.
Okay, so the tactical visor now gets absolutely demoed right there as the reflect goes down on the Genji, but Eric's all over him with the nano boost, and now they do find themselves the second there. Also, NZNR still going to be alive through this fight, but can't make his way out onto the point at all. The self-destruct not coming up big either, and Dizzy going to be able to take out Rocket and Fireball yet again, just picked apart on this point.
This is like the reverse situation. Fireball capped their first point absolutely immediately, but it's looking like 0 contest at all for them on the second point. It's such a shocking change here. They have had moments where they've had a lot of ultimates to come in, but AHQ have shut them down, and now they have to start building them up again. And yeah, they had tons of time coming into the second point, I think almost 7 minutes, but now they're down to 2 minutes. They don't have time to start building these ultimates up.
With 2 minutes left on the clock, this is indeed the circle of life for Fireball right now. Make your way up to the front gate and get hit by an EMP. Yes, indeed, he does do it. I was about to say, if he doesn't do it, I'm going to look like a fool. But here's the Dragon Blade to follow up as well. Finding that kill onto a Pudo. Karez as well, right there to help him out. And Eric just cleaning up the Diva on top. As NZNR looking to get through, maybe contest the point, is going to be forced back as well to the rest of the team.
All right, look, we're coming up to Fireball. They're going to have an EMP. They're going to have the Pulse Bomb. Those are probably the biggest tools for them to move in and win the fight here because they're too far away from a tactical visor. If they can find a kill with Pulse Bomb, that might be just enough, but remember how AHQ are holding this as well. They're quite often on the high ground. Very hard to find Pulse Bombs onto anyone significant. And look at this. Kurlos, is just forced so far out.
Oh, now it's the battle of the EMPs. The battle of the EMPs, and it's looking like Karez's one is going to be in a far better position than Kurlos's was, as it's all AHQ here, finding themselves a few picks, but it's a mech, and it's the support of Crappy. AHQ are not worried here at all as they pick up NZNR as he does manage to find Dizzy over on the side. But with 40 seconds left, things are looking grim for the side of Fireball.
Fireball, they've swapped over onto the Roadhog as well. I've had enough of Sombra. This is a hero.
I like that.
It's a hero that in the last moments where ultimates are not going to be in your favor at all, one hook, one kill could be all Fireball need to finally find anything on the point. In fact, they've already got a third, so they can just run in with a big enough advantage.
And not only is it flanking heroes on the side of AHQ, it's a flanking team there just smashing Kurlos as he gets split apart from the rest of Fireball. They are on the point here. They have managed to make it a third, so there is that little piece of the cherry on top for the side of Fireball. But now the EMP looking to be set up from Karez again, finds its mark into the entire side. But Fireball somehow, through the EMP, have found themselves some kills, got themselves a lot of this cap here, but the Dragon Blade from Kalman looking for the big highlight play. Self-destruct picks itself up one. Titawat, though, still alive on this point. As I say, that gets hit by the Pulse Bomb from Dizzy, and he surely should be able to grate the side of Fireball into nothingness here.
Yeah, and overtime is going to tick away, so a surprisingly good result from the final fight coming out from Fireball, and amazing.
Yeah,
I've got to say,
props to Fireball for that first point attack.
First point, right, because of course they would not have got that far on the second point if they didn't have, what was it, almost 7 minutes after that first point capture, and also in that last attack as well, the swap onto the Roadhog as well just made the hooks more of a factor, right? The EMP also, it found enough targets, sure, but at that point it was more of a use EMP as soon as it's ready rather than use EMP when you're in the best position for us to take advantage of it.
I mean, watching AHQ on these really aggressive defenses is just an absolute joy to watch. The action that's coming out time and time again is it's just so exciting to see, obviously, if Fireball can even make it through the first gate.
Aputo's looking serious, and that's when Fireball have got to start turning something on right now, because this guy's almost always having a laugh with his teammates, but this has got to be a bit of a demoralizing loss here right now, because they did have a very good showing on Anubis, but remember how much they got demolished on King's Road? This could be potentially one of their final matches as well, so they've got to come in here with something big to prove right now. It's very hard to actually defend this first point for the entirety of Anubis, but it's actually very much within the realms of possibility for them to hold the second point against AHQ, because they got it just before fully capping. I think it was about 80 to 90%, so that's definitely something that Fireball can defend, but AHQ have shown that they are very good at this map.
Okay, so here's the inside tournament that we're watching right now. If Fireball defend the first attack from AHQ, they win morally.
They win morally? Oh, that's fair enough, I'd say. I mean, look, taking a map off of AHQ right now would actually be pretty good. I mean,
no. They can still lose the map. They just have to defend the first attack.
The first attack. Okay, yeah, that's fair enough. But the first attack could last a very long time because AHQ are going to go for a very long setup because they've got that Widowmaker with the Mercy play coming out once more. I talked about this because you find it a little bit harder to flush out the enemy team because you've only got 4 guys who are running in trying to fight them because Mercy is still power boosting up the Widowmaker.
No!
But that's an early kill.
I can't even think straight right now as AHQ doing exactly what happened to them, really looking to set the tone and set the stage here. Not today will we be walked over, Fireball. We're going to do the exact same thing to you there. And AHQ extremely dominating first point attack here as well as Kalman just cleaning up these few kills.
It was actually Genji both times as well. Apudo did it on his attack, and this time it's Kalman, who will be 50% of his ult. So despite that fight going so well in AHQ's favor, they don't actually have a huge ultimate advantage coming into this point. They can win with just the frags if they go in straight away because it will continue to be an ultless fight unless some of these EMPs come out really early.
Apudo really looking to challenge Lazy Titan on the Widowmaker right now, not giving him too much breathing room to land any of these shots, but we've seen him do some magic once before. If he can just land one headshot, you can be sure that AHQ are just going to charge their way in there. Karez getting very close to that EMP, almost drops down, but does manage to make his way to the health pack. Now Kurlos looking very low, needs to get himself out alive as well. Finds that kill onto Kalman actually, so that's going to stop this attack in its tracks surely. But look at this, what is this? Lazy Titan on the Widowmaker, leading the charge onto the point, not even afraid.
I have a feeling he just wanted to swap off the Widowmaker and wanted a quick way to go back to the spawn room. This is, like you said, it's going to be AHQ's attack pretty much stopped. A few of them are still wandering around trying to get some ultimate charge, but Fireball have stabilized, that much is for sure. But there are going to be both EMPs. AHQ still have to throw out this Resurrect because I can't imagine they want to keep the Mercy going into the second point. They'll eventually swap off onto the Reaper as well. They did it against Machi. Very much going to happen here, unless they just win a fight with the res.
Well, this is going to be the battle of the EMPs here. Kurlos needs to get himself set up in a good position to land it here. As you know, Karez is probably already in some sneaky spot, looking to see if he can land one on the side of Fireball. Kalman just probing now, looking for any kind of information to relay so Karez can get in here and throw that EMP out. And look at this, there he is. Drops it straight on top of the Diva, so you can see what they're trying to do here to take out that defense matrix. The Dragon Blade from Kalman, though, not really coming up with too much, but good thing the rest of his team are insane as they do manage to pick themselves up a double there. But now Fireball will find those kills, but the big double res now coming through from Crappy. The Pulse Bomb landing onto Rocket as well, but Apudo and Enzidna, the dynamic duo, going in right now, keeping Fireball's hopes alive. The Dragon Blade coming through, picking himself up Lazy Titan, and Fireball might just hold onto this one, Smite.
Oh, you could even see the desperation there for Fireballs hovering over that Mei, but they do realize this match is still far from over. AHQ still have a long way to go, not even capping a single third of the point. They have swapped onto that Reaper. They do have the Lucio coming out now as well. And they've got an EMP to work with. They can just throw it out and try and get ult charge for the heroes that have just swapped over.
Karez is like, please let me go in your spawn. Please let me get in there and just EMP everyone.
You should be able to hack the door and get in.
But now Fireball opting to hold that same position yet again. So I believe Karez is definitely aware of this, and oh my goodness, this is going to be a huge EMP there. Drops it right on top of Fireball's heads, and now AHQ looking to get in. And they've obviously got that double shotgun combo that works so well for them on the prior Anubis attack. Dizzy finding the kill onto the mech, so that one's out of here. But Titawat, nice position there, picks himself up a double. Dizzy, Karez still on the point going to work there, but Enzidna looking up in the back lines for the side of Fireball, seeing if he can find any of these last few players rotating out. Indeed catches Lazy Titan, and Fireball still holding on, Smite.
HQ do have time to build up to their attack though, because remember they play for the thirds. They also play for that big combo, the EMP into the Death Blossom. And the thing about EMP is that you can throw out a few in the time that you're building up to that Death Blossom, helping Reaper himself actually build up to it. So they do have to go in with that in mind. Fireball need to continue to remember that they are going to need to save the defensive tools for that. They also have to make sure that everyone is safe, or at least the key defensive members are safe from the EMP, so they can throw out something like Defense Matrix or Sound Barrier to survive through Death Blossom. One Death Blossom and it's actually over for Fireball.
Well, you know, AHQ are meaning serious business right now. Lazy Titan switching onto that Diva. Kurlos finds the kill onto Karez, so AHQ's attack is over before it even begins now. Enzidna getting very close to his Pulse Bomb. Can he manage to land one of these and buy themselves even more time? Only 3 minutes and 10 seconds left on the clock, and Fireball, Smite, they are doing it. They are holding this one down. They're not letting AHQ just walk all over them like King's Row.
Yeah, Fireball is showing that King's Row is definitely not the only way that they can play. They are holding it very effectively. Pulse Bomb, unfortunately, not finding anything, but they do still have a Pudo's Dragon Blade in their back pocket.
Oh, there's going to be Kerez again taken out of this one. The self-destruct going to be forced out for the side of Fireball. Doesn't find too much. Oh, nice hack as well onto Lazy Titan. Can they demech him before he gets away here? Kalman taken out as well, and Fireball not as aggressive as AHQ were on their defense, but they're getting the job done.
But Fireball are also trying to win these fights with minimal ult used, right? They're winning them, they're keeping a Pudo's Dragon Blade, which is very important. It's buying themselves time. But remember, oh, that's such a delayed kill as well. But AHQ have built up to that Death Blossom finally. I might be hyping this up a little bit too much here because it could very much just get counted out, and Fireball have shown that they're ready to do that. They do definitely have the tools to do it. They've got Defense Matrix, they've got Sound Barrier, but they just have to watch out for that EMP. One of those heroes has to not get hit by the EMP, and they can survive through what is HQ's win condition.
Well, it again is going to be the battle of the EMPs here. Whichever one of these Sombras manages to land the stronger EMP, I feel like they're going to be able to come out on top. It's going to be Kerez dropping his first here. Does he have the follow-up? The counter comes out now from Kurlos. A Death Blossom gets thwarted instantly. A Pudo coming up massive right now, picking up a triple. Make that a quad. Absolutely insane. Genji gets the fifth as well. And a Pudo says, no way, Jose, not today, and wipes out AHQ's attack.
So I forgot the biggest counter to Death Blossom is actually flat killing the Reaper, but he was also doing it into a Sound Barrier too, so it wasn't really going to find too much anyway. That was AHQ's big fight to win, and Fireball shut it down in its tracks. Now, it was even trades in terms of ultimates. Fireball are still running a little bit dry, but remember that Kurlos can build up that EMP very quickly. He can shut down a lot of the tools for AHQ in any kind of attack, right? And it's putting a lot on Dizzy right now, because Reaper, not the most consistent in terms of doing damage.
Self-destruct doesn't manage to find anything there, and ends in Nuz. Pulse Bomb taking out Lazy Titan before he can get back in the mech. Very good stuff indeed. And now Dizzy, though, on the point. He needs to come up big here. Manages to demech 9th, but Apudo just being a disaster. And NZNR as well, not letting AHQ get in at all. 48 seconds left on the clock. And now panic mode engaged for the side of AHQ as Fireball are just absolutely insane on this defense. AHQ might be rethinking their Anubis pick right now.
Maybe, and you know, I'll talk about this after the match, but there's something I've got to say about it, Fireball's history on it as well. A good hook could set AHQ up.
That is a very good start there. That hook out of nowhere from Lazy Titan must have just been in range there, and this is going to be their one shot, their one opportunity, looking to get a third now. And that from Apudo as well, taking out Kalman. I don't even understand what's going on here. Fireball still managing to defend this one back. Again, Dizzy takes out the mech of 9th, does have Lazy Titan there, but he's still going to just be destroyed. And the Dragon Blade from Apudo, he can't connect just yet with it, but it doesn't matter as NZNR was just so strong on the point. The overtime ticking down. What is actually going on, Smite? Fireball, can they hold on to this one?
Easy. I think we're going to go to map 4 here because AHQ surely do not have the numbers to break through. Apudo cleaned them up, and NZNR still has his Pulse Bomb. This is going to be Fireball taking the Temple of Anubis.
Oh, it is the... I just don't even have words right now, surely
There's
not.
the
Now
smile.
he's back, now he's smiling, now he's happy.
That's what we want to see, Apudo. That was a great showing coming out from Fireball. The best part, of course, was that first point attack. Although, I mean, it was mirrored by AHQ doing the exact same thing to them, but the fact is, Fireball holding out on that second point. I think they barely gave up 1/3. Can you believe it, Easy? After that King's Row, after that 100% one-sided King's Row, the biggest stomp I've ever seen, we're going to go to map 4.
How does Fireball do this?
Well, you kill the dudes
I'm still just
trying to
sitting here
step on the
going,
point.
what do you mean? What do you mean?
What do you mean we're not done yet?
Like, no, it's not so much that. It's just Fireball out of nowhere, you know, like they just absolutely got demolished, I feel, on Control and Hybrid as well. And to have such a strong sort of resurgence in Anubis, what? What changed?
Very different compositions, right? Remember King's Row. I mean, triple tank was coming out for both teams when Fireball was defending. Fireball demolished, and then they were playing into a triple tank when they were attacking, and Fireball couldn't find anything out of that. This time, they're running similar compositions. Sombra's thrown into the mix. There's Reapers around. That's a very different thing to what we saw on King's Row. So Fireball clearly showing that, along with the map, they're better at that composition as well.
If Fireball reverse sweep this, I'm just going to eat a shoe. I'll do it because there's no way. I mean, I expected Fireball to have a little bit more showing on control, but for them to take Anubis from AHQ, which was obviously their pick as well, is an absolute... I don't even have words for this. I'm absolutely speechless right now.
Last weekend, I believe it was, last weekend, Fireball actually did the same thing to Blank. They lost the first two maps, and then they took out Anubis against Blank.
So they're just the Anubis kings, it seems.
Well, I mean, at least against these two teams anyway, but it does make it interesting why AHQ did pick it. They clearly showed that they were pretty good at it when they were up against Marchi, but I've also got to say that it was probably, despite them taking out the win there, probably the least strong showing from AHQ against Marchi, so still interesting that they did pick up Temple of Anubis, but look, Fireball clearly showing that they are a team to be reckoned with on Temple of Anubis, so look, they beat Blank, they beat AHQ, but the other thing about the Blank series was they just lost the next match. The next map. They lost, I think it was Dorado.
Well, I mean, Fireball, you know, they are going to be getting the next pick now, so they do have a little bit going in their favor, and I mean, with the momentum they've just gained from Anubis, that's going to be very good for them coming into, obviously, whatever they choose to pick for map number 4. And I mean, is this where we see now Apudo and NZNA finding their stride, feeling that confidence now, and being able to really take it to Kalman and Dizzy?
We definitely saw Apudo step it up as well, and NZNR too, like you said during the match, finding kills, finding pulse bombs, and bringing it back for his team. Also, I've got to give a good amount of credit to Kurlos as well. The EMPs were working. He was actually using his right click to hack as well, which was really quite effectively shutting down a lot of the attacks coming out from AHQ. So again, credit across the board, and that's what I said at the start of the match. Hey, look, if Fireball want to bring another map win to their credit, right, then the whole team needs to step up.
Yeah, I think Tita Watt as well was a very standout player, and I mean, coming into this replay there, we see him already taking out Kalman, being very good at picking off a lot of these, trying to escape AHQ players there.
Look, I mean, this is where we saw the majority of AHQ's fight when they were on the defense, right? And look, going out there, you saw how easy it is to hit an EMP on absolutely everyone. Where are you going to hide? Maybe in that building, but then you're putting yourself in an even more dangerous position where AHQ can just jump on top of you, find an easy kill because you're isolated from your team, and if your whole team's in there, well, you're just going to all die to AoE. And
the other thing as well, do you feel that AHQ maybe came with a little bit of complacency there, you know, on their defense, getting a little bit too big for their boots, taking, I guess, a lot of aggressive fights there, maybe when they shouldn't have. Same with their offenses as well, you know. They started, the longer and longer it took for them to really find their mark, they almost obviously forced themselves into panic mode. And I mean, it's good to, I feel, work under those situations, especially, you know, when you are going to be going ahead, you know, playing, you know, the two best teams in the tournament. But, well, maybe the two best teams in the tournament, I should say. It looks like, you know, when they're under pressure, if they can't beat Fireball, what are they going to do against Blank or possibly Flash Wolves?
Exactly. I mean, look, HQ, great performance on King's Row and even Lijiang Tower, but similar to Blank, a little bit to be desired on this control, on this assault type. But I mean, look, EMP's absolutely everywhere, but that's the thing, right? It doesn't really matter unless your team can capitalize up on the kills. And the fact is, Apudo had his Dragon Blade out. He was able to kill everyone anyway, so Fireball, they were able to defend despite the EMP hitting the majority of their team.
And I mean, like, this was just one example there. You know, Korea's looking to set up the EMP first off. I mean, we saw that on their defense, and they were really trying to obviously take that fight to Fireball. But, you know, Kurlos, I believe, was just so good at counter EMPing on the defense. On their offense, left a little bit to be desired there, but I feel on the defensive EMPs there, I mean, you see it there, AHQ collapse onto the point, trying to take out Ninth and the Diva, I believe, and then EMPs right there to greet them, hello, and goodbye, get off our point.
Exactly right. I mean, that's the key thing. When you're on the attack, you're looking for that EMP, you'd like to hit the Sombra so that they can't EMP you back, but unfortunately it's too easy to hide around the corner, make sure you're never hit by the EMP, and then immediately just come back in and, like you said, counter EMP instead. Now, map number 4 easy, we're going to go to Dorado. And I know you love this map music.
I do indeed. I'm looking very forward to this one. Obviously, this is where Apudo on his Genji can really thrive, I feel. And I mean, coming off again, as I mentioned before, the momentum of them picking up Anubis, this might be where we just see Apudo go absolutely insane. The performance of the tournament for him, I feel, is awaiting us. I mean, right now, I'm going to have to say that Anubis game is definitely his sort of standout Genji play of the entire tournament. But can he one-up that for us on Dorado?
It's a big ask, right? I mean, the other side of the coin is that it's going to be very much possible for him to just be completely shut down. Yeah, Genji's going to be the option that Fireball needs to contest Dizzy, who's going to be on the defense, on that soldier. He's always relying a lot on protection from his team, but it's a little bit different because Defense Matrix won't 100% keep Dizzy safe. Because, I mean, Genji loves throwing in melees. Also, Dragon Blade is not going to be blocked by it either. So there are a lot of ways for Apudo on Genji to come in and shut down Dizzy. But I've got to say, if he gets hit by Sleep Dart, if there's a Discord orb on him, if they're running in Zenyatta instead, it's still quite easy to shut him down.
Well, just moments away from getting into Dorado. AHQ taking on Fireball. AHQ lead the series 2-1, and in absolutely insane fashion, Fireball have picked up Temple of Anubis against AHQ. Now Fireball have picked Dorado. Let's see if they've got what it takes to even up the series.
It's still a long way for Fireball to go. They've still got to win 2 maps in a row, and AHQ, they're happy to win just a single map here. The thing about Dorado is that a lot of teams will find themselves in a situation where they're stuck on that first checkpoint. It can be quite an easy defense in that archway to shut them down. Some teams will even run triple tank. AHQ have shown they're comfortable doing that. In fact, Fireball have shown they're comfortable running triple tank, at least on King's Row. But we all know how that went for both teams.
You know, I'd like to see Fireball attack first.
Like to see Fireball attack first?
I'd like to see Fireball attack first. Obviously, we're not too sure on who's on which side just yet, as we're in the beautiful cinematic mode. But I feel that if Fireball go for the attack first, it's a pretty strong choice by them.
I'm going to call it, say that this is going to be AHQ on the defense because you can see a soldier right there. Apudo, oh, no, okay, yeah. It's going to be actually triple DPS coming out for Fireball on defense first. Probably going to swap off that Tourbillon there. Unfortunately, I'd love to see it, but AHQ, what are they going to bring to this offense here? They're going to try and find some kills here with an early Widowmaker pick, but I believe they're going to be swapping off that. Nope, just kidding. Widowmaker's coming out, baby.
Oh, wow. If he landed that, that would have been absolutely massive there. A bit of flashy play coming out from AHQ to start this off, forcing ninth out of his position. And now Kalman, very sneaky, up in the back lines, going straight onto Kurlos. But Kurlos connecting, forces Kalman back off the point, but Dizzy there to clean up NZNR on the high ground. Look at this. It's Apudo scrambling for his life there. But as this happens, Kalman, as he tried to push around the back lines, gets taken out by Rocket. But AHQ are indeed making moves on the payload.
The payload, though, is yet to hit that critical point of just past the archway anyway, so Fireball do have an opportunity to come back in. This does provide a lot more space for Fireball to play defensively. The high ground is definitely an option, and Apudo can go nuts.
And Apudo taking out Dizzy is a very good start for this piece of defense now, looking to force AHQ back down the ramp.
And here's what AHQ are doing. They've swapped Dizzy over onto the soldier because they've noticed that, look, Fireball running triple DPS, that means there's no Diva. That means if Dizzy gets his tactical visor, who's going to stop him?
Oh, my long-lost brother DZ. Really excited to see how he's going to come up now on his soldier. It's always been the big money, and taking out NZNR is a good start with that. But Apudo just getting so much charge right now. Has the Dragon Blade to work with, but Dizzy needs to escape right now as the Dragon Blading Apudo is looking to clean up the team. Nice resurrection, though, coming out from AHQ. But it's just feeding more kills into them. As I say that, though, Dizzy manages to escape, doesn't get taken out, and now look at this from AHQ, the resurgence, the revival. They're not worried about that Dragon Blade at all, and look at Dizzy on this soldier, just an absolute monster, just destroying Fireball's defense and stopping it in its entirety.
As soon as Apudo was shut down after that Dragon Blade ended, Dizzy knew it was his time to shine, to come out. He could play out in the open field and not worry about getting taken down, so Fireball not able to stop that first checkpoint, and this is where AHQ are going to push incredibly far forward. And if Kalman can find a pulse bomb, this should just set them up for even more guaranteed distance on the payload.
My goodness, Kalman time and time again, just a flanking machine. And now Fireball need to be aware. Apudo has caught him, so perfectly timed as he turns around there on his retreat, manages to alert the rest of Fireball that there is a sneaky, beaky Tracer behind them, and now Fireball coming up, taking the mech out, taking out Kalman as well on the flank there. So very good stuff here as they're looking to stop this attack now in its tracks. Fireball answering back.
I mean, it could have been flashy by Cowman, but while he was taking his vacation on that flank there, the rest of Fireball were just able to just shoot down on the payload. And look, it's not often you see the payload stopped that early, and that's when a team can't contest the high ground. They didn't have the numbers. Cowman, Tracer's got a lot of mobility, sure, but you can't go up. And it takes a long time to walk up to that position.
So now quite a lot of ultimates on both teams here. The sound barrier going to be used from Fireball to start things off. Here comes that self-destruct up onto the high ground. Nicely placed there. It's going to be Kalman being able to take out Titawatt as the Transcendence comes through from AHQ as well. Really looking to drag this fight out. Fireball did drop the Transcendence of their own. And it's going to be to no avail now as the Tactical Visor from Dizzy greatly timed, just cleaning up these few Fireball members as they're just split apart from the pure aggression coming out from AHQ.
A lot of mirrored ults as well, but the ones from Fireball just finding nothing. Ninth threw out his Tactical Visor and died immediately, and even if he didn't, there was still a lot to go on. He was being patient, he was waiting for the mech to die, he was waiting for the sound barrier, the Transcendence, to run out. Because of that, he swapped over onto the Diva, and this is what they need to shut down Dizzy.
A nice play from Titawatt here, baiting out the pulse bomb from Kalman here, keeping himself alive and then getting very aggressive onto the cart. Comes up with the kill there as well, so Titawatt very strong on the Winston, but great res now coming through from Crappy. AHQ do not want to stop this roll at all that they've just started here. Apudo now forced back onto the cap, a nice primal rage coming through from Eric. This is AHQ in control of this fight here. What is that sneaky little pulse bomb from NZNR? Doesn't connect with anything here. Oh, AHQ lose Karez to Titawatt's primal rage. So this now is going to be Fireball answering back. Titawatt, a machine on the Winston here. And they've got to watch out again, NZNR in the back lines. But Titawatt not having any of this, jumping straight on to Kalman, chasing him out of this fight. And now Fireball stabilized.
Now, there was a decision there made by AHQ where they said, okay, look, we're swapping the Mercy, so let's throw out the res anyway and try and win the fight. Unfortunately, that res was never going to win them the fight. It resed a single Winston. And yeah, he bought a lot of time, but Fireball already defending the point pretty easily. So they ended up just feeding over another 500 hit points of ultimate and losing a lot of time.
Well, Fireball showing signs of life here on Dorado, not letting cap number 2 go at all without, especially not without a fight here, as now Kalman looking to set up for another pulse bomb. The self-destruct coming through from Lazy Titan. It does connect with Titawatt, and I mean, he was such a pain for them to deal with in the prior fight. It's a good start. There's the pulse bomb from Kalman, but it gets eaten. Unlucky there, mate, as now Kurlos going to be hitting that Transcendence to keep them alive through this fight here. But Dizzy on the high ground, they've got to be careful. Even though they use that sound barrier, he can just dish out so much damage. But the Dragon Blade right on top of him from Apudo, and that's a good selection here. Can he find a second though? He's getting kited around very well now from the side of AHQ, but they do have NZNR and Kurlos as well to pick up these last few kills.
Fireball should be able to stabilize here. They've picked up enough kills for the respawn advantage to make it useless for HQ to continue their push. Dizzy finally contested, but this time he's going to have that Tactical Visor. There will be no Dragon Blade to go and deal with him, but Ninth is the guy. He's the guy to get up into his face with the defense matrix and shut Dizzy down.
Well, Dizzy needs to come up big in this next fight as there's only 30 seconds left. Fireball forcing AHQ into panic mode once again, and for the first time here on Dorado, it looks like Fireball might be able to get this one closed out. Nice movement coming out from Kurlos there, baiting Eriko as well, catching him in an awkward position. Does he have teammates to help him out though? Kurlos forced to Transcendence here, making Eric waste a lot of time and looking to get the kill. Now the Tactical Visor from Dizzy needs to come up big, and it's looking so. Apudo doesn't get the Dragon Blade up in time, nor can he cake out Dizzy. And Kalman as well, just pushing back these last few players here. And AHQ with their backs against the wall, looking like they're going to be able to get the cap, but Fireball want to contest, and you've got to watch out for Apudo getting close to that Dragon Blade. Eric as well with the pulse bomb in hand. Karez is going to be sent back here. Fireball, can they do the unthinkable yet again? Self-destruct there coming through, doesn't really connect with anything there, but Fireball are picking up the kill, Smite, and they've done it. They've held out AHQ before cap number 2. The Dragon Blade from Apudo just the finishing touch.
And Tita coming in with the primal rage at the very last second, keeping the hopes alive for Fireball, keeping the flames stoked. But they still have to push that far. And that can be a big ask. That first checkpoint can be tricky to get through, but Fireball, you said it yourself, this is a great showing by them. This is no King's Row indeed, and AHQ are really being tested in this series.
No smiles on the side of AHQ anymore as Fireball are putting them through their paces here. I mean, it was a very good first point attack coming through from AHQ. Once they sort of switched Dizzy up onto the Soldier, everything just started falling into place for them, but Fireball, Tita was an absolute machine on that Winston.
And that's the other thing as well about Dizzy being swapped onto the Soldier. Once Fireball recognized that he was becoming a big problem, they swapped Ninth over onto the D.Va after he had probably the worst tactical visor I've seen in a while, just dying straight away with it. I mean, maybe just throwing it out because he's swapping anyway, but the fact is, once he swapped onto that D.Va, there was plenty of protection for them against Ninth. And then you've also got to credit Apudo for getting up in Dizzy's face as well. Dizzy having a tough time.
And now the ball in Fireball's court on the offense. Obviously, they do have a long way to go, and we've seen teams struggle on pushing past the first cap before. Can they do it against AHQ? Have they managed to find something that's working for them?
Well, this is super duper sneaky. Everyone's standing up on these buildings. These tanks also can be quite difficult to deal with when they're hiding up on that high ground as well, especially Winston, especially D.Va, because they can just hop and fly around between all of these different parts of the high ground. You can come back and help your team. You can contest anyone that themselves is trying to get up on the high ground. But Fireball, they've got a big test across ahead of them.
Oh, well, Pudo actually lands scatter arrow there, so it does a decent early little bit of damage. NZNR contesting right up onto the high ground here. Nice early positioning coming out from Fireball, forcing AHQ back and picking Kalman up as well. And Eric, oh my goodness, Fireball exploding out of the gates once again. And now they've caught AHQ in quite an awkward position. Do they have the numbers, though, and the position to get in? Indeed, there comes the leap right from Tita and Apudo all over them here. Dash, reset, takes them out. NZNR as well, going to be picking up Crappy.
And that's exactly what Fireball needed to do. Push forward, delay the respawns so they can get this payload past that archway up to the fountain. Now this is the best opportunity. This is where the fight is mostly on even ground. HQ only have the advantage because they respawn a little bit closer, but look at how close this payload is.
And here comes the recontest now from AHQ. Kalman looking to get himself in position. Still needs to get past the front lines here as no one from Fireball's letting him go. Kurlos, can he come up with the kill? Kurlos still staying alive.
Oh, no way!
That's absolute disaster now for AHQ. Oh, and the pulse bomb from NZNR with the big double, and Fireball just rocking on through this first cap. No sweat.
King's Row has officially been wiped from Fireball's history right now. They are going to push forward. They are going to contest AHQ on this high ground. Dizzy is going to find no positioning at all. And HQ, they can punish Fireball for playing this aggressively, but Fireball, oh boy.
Oh, it's the battle of the defense matrix there. My defense matrix does more damage than yours,
I have
mate.
higher APM than you.
As Fireball getting very aggressive into the faces of AHQ, and it's working out wonderfully for them. All the ultimates as well in their favor. Apudo holding on to that Dragon Blade, again looking to get aggressive. Now they just can't get too complacent. They need to just keep their composure coming into this next fight. The Dragon Blade nicely timed around the nano boost there. Oh, but the primal rage from Eric, beautifully timed as Kalman on the back lines drops that pulse bomb onto Kurlos. But Fireball have got themselves the mech. There is still NZNR with the pulse bomb, but now the attack visor from Dizzy. There is a bit of a contest coming out from Ninth. The the self-destruct as well. The pulse bomb was thrown out from NZNR and it did not connect. So now Fireball not having all the dominoes fall in their way, but still pushing the payload and getting very good position here, forcing AHQ into the vault there and not letting them come out. But that Transcendent is definitely going to let them out there, and Dizzy now finding some footing, catching a couple of kills there, Apudo being one of them, and that's going to be what AHQ need to stabilize.
And the big thing about AHQ winning that fight is now they can get their positioning back onto the high ground. They haven't had the opportunity to do that for the entire checkpoint here. So Fireball will find it a little bit harder to break in, but NZNR is going for a chase.
Oh, if NZNR managed to find Kalman there, that would have been absolutely huge. but the positioning from Lazy Titan, the unspoken hero of the side of AHQ time and time again, just in the nick of time saving Kalman there. And now they do have the Pulse Bomb to work with. Nano Boost almost up on Karez on top of this. Enzinar needs to land a big one. It's going to be Kalman throwing his out first. Doesn't connect. Big self-destruct from the Titan. What can he find? It seems like nothing today. And now Enzinar looking to get in position. The Nano Boost coming through onto Eric. Gets his Primal Rage up just in the nick of time. But now AHQ have lost Kalman. But Kurlos now falls down for the side of Fireball. The Dragon Blade from Apudo needs to come up big. The Sleep Dart doesn't connect there at all. Kere is going to be taken out of this one. And Fireball, player advantage. Here we go. Payload getting very close now, indeed. And can they do it? The unthinkable. They are getting so very, very close. The Pulse Bomb ends in now. Push up now, Fireball, if you want a chance at stopping these respawners coming in.
Fireball, they've got one more fight to win, and Dizzy is getting nothing from this tactical visor.
Dizzy perish it out perfectly, challenged now by the side of Fireball, and they're picking the kills up as well. There's no more Kalman. Dizzy looking very low, being forced back as well. 3 meters away, make that 3.7 as they get even closer. The Transcendence buying them a little bit of time, but it might be a little too late here as now Kalman trying to contest, gets thwarted here. What can Eric do? And oh my goodness, Fireball have done it, and they equalize the series against AHQ. We're sitting 2-2 Smite.
Easy, are you freaking kidding me, man?
I'm hype out of this world right now. What is happening?
I think all the Fireball fans heard me. In fact, all of Thailand heard me. They've raised their hands into the sky. They've given Fireball all the energy they need because this is a completely different team to what we saw on Kings Row. This is a completely different Apudo as well.
Unbelievable stuff. And I mean, I talked about this at the start of the series. Expected Fireball to have a little bit of a showing. That was the huge play that Enzinar came through on his Tracer there. What a joy to watch. And I mean, Enzinar started off a little bit slow on control, was definitely being outclassed by Kalman and the side of AHQ. But now he is...
Apudo and Enzinar, though, they're both going big, right? And you look at AHQ and yeah, okay, Dizzy is a player to be feared. He's a player to definitely demand some respect, some attention, but the attention's been given and he's been shut down multiple times. He's had some good tactical visors, but this is Fireball finding out what AHQ's strengths are, shutting them down, and then taking the map wins. This is not even the beginning anymore. We are on the cusp of a potential reverse sweep. We're going to map 5.
It is going to be hybrid, but AHQ, they are the home side. They will get to pick the map.
But here's the thing, right? Because we're on the second hybrid, right? You now only have a pool of 3 hybrid maps to pick, right? So you've got even more chance for Fireball to still be happy with the map that you're going to be picking anyway. I mean, they could pick up something like Eichenwald. Fireball are happy to go there, for sure. You could pick up something like Numbani, which is actually what I expect AHQ to do. And that's where Fireball may find a little bit of trouble, right? Because HQ have shown they are quite confident, quite capable on Numbani. They've beaten blank on it before as well. Fireball, however, I've yet to see a good performance from them on Numbani.
The thing is, I feel if we do go to Eichenwald, if for some mad reason AHQ pick Eichenwald, I think Fireball can do it. I think they can do the unthinkable here and go for the big upset against AHQ. If we go to Numbani, I feel that's going to fall definitely into AHQ's favor, as you've mentioned there. You know, they've beaten blank on this before, and they do have a very sort of methodical, calculated piece of defense on that. Same when it comes to their offense there, but I think the pure fragging power of Apudo and Enzinar right now is just off the charts. The confidence that they're showing is insane. Tita Watt has been an absolute joy to watch on this Winston. His engagements are perfect. His barriers are timed so very well. I mean, he's baiting so much out.
Primal Rages, right, as well. He's always in there, in the moment to save them at the last second. We saw it on Anubis. We saw it just then on Dorado when Fireball were defending. That could have very easily gone to the 3rd checkpoint, and then that could have been a different match. That could have been AHQ actually taking out a win if they got that little bit of extra time. But Tita Watt as well, coming in with the Primal Rages, and the team as a whole making those calls. It could have been very easy to say, like, we can't defend this at the last second. We can't afford to give away that much ultimate charge. We need to back off. But they made the call, and the risks paid off.
So, I mean, the team 3rd from the bottom and the team 3rd from the top? just to sort of make things mirrored there. Obviously 3 and 6 coming up against each other right now, and Fireball looking very shaky in the start of OPC, now definitely finding their stride, taking on AHQ, currently ranked 3rd, and have equalized the series. What an absolute matchup this has been. When we were sort of talking about what we were looking forward to seeing tonight, we had Flash Wolves playing Hong Kong Attitude, Marchi playing AHQ, we were like, these are going to be the real big ones, but who would have thought
it would be
Fireball taking on AHQ was going to be the big, exciting one? And I mean, it's almost like Fireball came into the series going, oh, this is going to be real rough, boys. We can't really do it. And then all of a sudden, they were like, oh my God, we can? Oh my God, we can? Okay, all good, let's go. And I mean, just taking a look at some of these replays, like, what a joyous sort of piece of work coming out from Fireball.
Yeah, and you could actually see, this is the moment where we actually saw Ninth swap off of Soldier, right? He's waiting so incredibly patiently because he had to wait for the mech to be taken out. He had to wait for the Transcendence to run out. Sorry, the mech. So then he finally found a time to throw out Tactical Visor, and it was still a moment where he was going to die anyway. So swapping off of Soldier, I'm not going to call him a bad Soldier. He just wasn't having the performance though on that map specifically, and you could see immediately the results when he swapped onto that D.Va. He got the job done. He started countering out Dizzy, started getting in his face, started shutting down the tactical visors. So as soon as that swap was made, Fireball found their groove.
Yeah, it was at that point as well from that previous highlight where I was like, and now AHQ have got themselves the momentum they were looking for. And then everything obviously changed from that point here. But now this is Fireball's bit of defense.
Yeah,
offense rather, I believe.
Yeah, Fireball's offense, right? And this is actually where we saw AHQ finally managed to come back into it, I believe. They managed to find their groove a little bit later on. The payload actually did move a little bit further. But look at how aggressive Fireball got. They, like you said, Titawatt getting up in the face with the engagements, actually finding the D.Va mech as well, along with NZ&R. That's another example of target prioritization being very, very well done by Fireball, getting that synergy, making sure they're actually shooting the same target.
And that right there, Titawatt's engagement right there, forcing the rest of AHQ into the vault sort of area there was absolutely crucial, I feel, for getting them past that corner.
It sent them crying all the way back to the bank, right? Because, look, that's where the gold is. That's where Fireball were on the brink of winning the map right there. I mean, you were saying it yourself, they've already taken down 3 members. It was so hard for HQ to finally come back in. They had to come in back in desperation. Look, Fireball, I've got to say, they have exceeded expectations. We came into the series saying, if Marchi couldn't do it, if Marchi couldn't even take a map, then what hope did Fireball have? I mean, they had to pull out a miracle, but look, all they had to do was improve their play. All they had to do was make these decisions like swapping Ninth onto the D.Va, Apudo getting good Dragon Blades instead. That's a good decision to make every time.
I mean, maybe it was they just needed to turn their headphones on.
Maybe.
Because it looks like they're actually communicating now, making those calls on the fly. And I think the other sort of conversation point there is, if they had brought in Titawatt early into this tournament, how would they look now?
That's a question that we may have to ask in Season 2.
You were right there. It's going to be AHQ taking us to Numbani, going for the safe pick here, something they've performed extremely well on in the past. And I mean, as we mentioned before, they're going to be playing in the playoffs next weekend. Momentum is a very real thing. We've seen teams, look very strong, fall off their, the hype train that they are on, not to name any names. Other teams, when their backs are against the wall, they turn that around. And I mean, Fireball here, if they can take out AHQ are definitely going to be feeling shaky going forward.
Especially if they take them out on Numbani as well. It's a map that AHQ have shown they're comfortable on. They want to pick it against teams like Blank, who have claimed previously, Blank have claimed Numbani as their map, and AHQ were happy to take them there. They've recently lost that against Blank, lost their territory. And now, if Fireball beat them here on Numbani, that's a devastating blow to the morale, which you need to keep up when you are 1 week away from playoffs.
So, I mean, the other thing is as well is how do you feel? Because that obviously we've talked about it before, the Genji is what works, for the side of Fireball. They're always sort of going to go with the Tracer, but the Genji is obviously going to need to come up big for them here.
So, similar to Dorado, there's a lot of positions that AHQ are going to hold Dizzy up in, right? He's going to be up on those balconies, on that Soldier, being incredibly safe. This is very similar to what we just saw on Dorado, where Aputo's happy to just climb up those walls and go and contest them. They're going to have 9th on the Diva, most likely. They may toy around with the idea of triple DPS. I'd like them to stick to the 2-2-2, especially on attack. But look, Fireball, despite us talking about how much AHQ are strong on Numbani, I think there's still a lot of room for argument to say that Fireball should be strong here too.
Well, moments away from getting into our 5th and what might possibly be final map between these two teams here. Fireball taking on AHQ, all tied up, and Numbani looking to be the decider. I absolutely can't wait for this one. We see that Torbjorn here on the defensive side, so it looks like AHQ might be defending first. Keys for success for Fireball, all falling on Aputo here, and I think Titawatt is going to be an absolutely crucial part of Fireball's offense.
Especially in the way that you engage into a Torbjorn setup, right? You've got to get that bubble down properly. You've got to make sure you're covering it and then also protecting your team as much as possible, and then also denying what the enemy team can do as well, because if they can't shoot out of the bubble as well, it's a very tricky thing to get that bubble in the exact right place. But that's going to fall on Titawatt, and he's going to have to do it.
Well, Aputo bringing out his soldier here, and Fireball now get themselves through the enclosed room here, now looking to push all the way back up onto the high ground and weed out the turret. Find out where it's been placed.
It's been placed on the low ground, I believe, and there's actually Dizzy in a very, very tough situation.
Well, they try to bombs Dizzy, but as Crappy finds that kill onto Kurlos, and now is splitting apart the side of Fireball. But there's Aputo taking out Crappy. Now Helix Rockets coming across. The mech taken out for the side of Fireball. Eric being taken out for the side of AHQ. Enginar falls to the turret though, so that's quite disastrous now, as Kalman going to be able to finish off Aputo without Enginar around to have his back, and AHQ will stabilize their defense, and now they're going to have armor coming into this next fight.
How did Dizzy get out of that alive? That's what I want to know. But in any case, you're right, armor is going to start being a thing. You look at those health bars, importantly being on someone like Keres, who's going to keep his team alive, going to be a whole lot harder to dive, especially if you can throw out that bionic grenade, survive a little bit more time. But every single push that Fireball aren't able to crack even a third of the point, that's going to be even more armor for Crappy to walk around and collect.
And Aputo not letting him get set up on this high ground just yet. Decent amount of contest coming through. There comes a pulse bomb from Enzinar, doesn't find its mark, as now Eric going to be nano boosted, fully taking out Kurlos early into this fight. The turret's down for Crappy, but he should be able to put himself up another one very quickly here. Now Kalman, pulse bomb in hand, looking to find his target.
Fireball once more are going to back off. They've got Aputo, they've got that tactical visor, but they need to keep him safe. And that's entirely possible to do, right? When the only real threat is going to be Cowman with that pulse bomb, he's going to be safe enough. You need to worry about that defense matrix. And this is the story of every soldier wanting to ult ever, is that defense matrix is going to be the biggest block.
So the turret's been taken out very early here. This is a great start now. Aputo hitting the tactical visor. Does he have any support? Oh my god, huge biotic field to keep him up, but it's not enough, as it's going to be Crappy with the molten core. Does have Kalman as well on his side to take him down there. That's an absolutely massive kill. If Aputo got any more out of that tactical visor, that would have been disaster there. But now it's looking like somehow, some way, 9th with the self-destruct picks himself up a kill. Dizzy answering with a tactical visor of his own, but he's shooting it right into Titawatt, and that's a great positioning now coming out from him. But he doesn't have much left in the form of teammates to really contest onto this point, as AHQ getting themselves back and should still be able to stabilize their defense.
It's Numbani. The attackers respawn is far too far for them to get reinforcements. So AHQ will hold, and they will also hold without handing over even a third of the point. It took them a few ults, sure, but they bought themselves so much time because that was an extended fight by Fireball trying their hardest to secure it. Now they've only got a minute to go, and they're going to be walking into Nano Boost. They're going to be walking into a Pulse Bomb. If Cowman can find one of those, who, by the way, he's got armor on as well. Okay, he's just lost it, but that is going to help him survive. If he can find one Pulse Bomb kill, that's Fireball's attack shut down.
Well, a little Tracer on Tracer battle around the flank side here. NZ now needs to come up big with his Pulse Bomb. Needs to watch out as well to see if Kalman's going to try to get in on him there. Eric able to take out Kurlos early into this fight, so Fireball going to be having to wait here because they need that Transcendence, and just past 30 seconds, 24 left on the clock. It's going to be the final fight of the match here, and AHQ looking so strong on Numbani.
Well, if they can take that mech down, that's all they need to do. Then you just stick Aputo in the Transcendence with the tactical visor on, and he will kill everyone. They just need to find Lazy Cutton's mech. That's all.
So Kalman here, looking to set up. Carrez able to take out a Pudo. Disaster for Fireball there, as that was the tactical visor sent back out here, and AHQ have just thwarted now the attack coming through from Fireball. That just stops before it even gets set up, and AHQ with a perfect first point hold.
I've got to say, it's looking a little bit less likely for Fireball to take a win here. They can really just get a draw here, unfortunately. They didn't even get a third on the attack there, so AHQ should be able to roll in, take a third. Apudo is hyped up. He's hyped up, but I don't think he realizes the position he's in, because this is, once more, an impossible situation that Fireball are facing. But then again, I said that after the Kings Row loss, when they went to Temple of Anubis. I was saying it was an impossible situation, but they proved me wrong. But really, this is actually an impossible situation. How are you going to beat AHQ here?
Well, Fireball, one of these teams that really like to keep us on our toes. And it's very hard to tell, you know, if we've seen everything coming out from them there. If they can get themselves a very strong, obviously, first point hold as well, take it to a draw, take it to control, that's their chance.
That's their only chance. That's literally the only way that they can do it today. So, Fireball, once more, Thailand, I beseech you, raise your hands into the sky. Hand your energy over to Fireball. It's going to be unlikely. It's going to be tough. They're going to have to pull out absolutely everything they've got. And if Apudo is going to be on that Genji, then he needs to go absolutely monstrous. But I saw a Roadhog.
There's a Hog, there's a Soldier, there's a Torbjorn coming through here. So Fireball shaking it up indeed here with their lineup. And they're going to be interesting to see who's playing who, and can this Torbjorn also stack up to Crappies?
Well, we'll have to see. But Apudo, if that is indeed him on that Hog hiding in that room, this could be punishing the path of attack that Fireball take. If AHQ take that way in, he's just going to get an easy hook, get a kill. But even if he gets one kill, that's still going to be the rest of the team coming in and just taking him out.
So it's going to be Apudo on the Soldier, NZNR on the Hog, 9th on that Diva he's been so strong at. Titawatt, insane Winston this series. Rocket on the Torbjorn and Kurlos on the Anna. And AHQ just charging on through, looking to start it up.
Got to watch out for those hooks. Kalman actually already lost quite a lot of health there, but the path that AHQ are taking is going to be interesting, right? Are they going to go up, storm that high ground? If they can, Fireball don't have a huge amount of vertical mobility, no Genji to get up there. There's going to be a Soldier you can push off the high ground. And AHQ, they've done it. They've pushed everyone off their balcony.
Yeah, they've done a very good job at establishing position here. Apudo trying to control that high ground for himself. Drops low here. AHQ picking themselves up 2 kills very quickly. Losing Eric is not going to be too much of an issue for them, as they're wiping out all the high value targets on the Fireball side here. Now Lazy Titan on the point, getting himself a bit of cap time, but it is going to be able to be contested by the side of Fireball. The turret and the Molten Core now coming out from Rocket. Can they hold on? It might indeed just be enough until the rest of Fireball manage to make their way back. AHQ trying to charge on through. Oh, and this is disaster actually here. Crappy caught out in a very bad position, but Kalman right there to save the day. How are AHQ doing this? Nice hook being landed there by NZNR, but the nano boost keeping Eric alive just barely. They don't have the damage to take him out here. Oh, Eric finally taken out, but buys a lot of time. Lets Dizzy get set up on the high ground, finding some all-important kills, and the tack visor as well. This is absolutely great stuff here now from AHQ, somehow keeping this fight alive. Apudo answering with a tactical visor of his own. Nice kiting coming through from Kalman, but eats a Helix rocket for dinner. My goodness, what an absolutely very close piece of first defense and offense from both of these teams here. But Fireball are going to stabilize.
This is what happened to Fireball on their attack. They had a big fight where they were committing ults, and it took a very long time to finally wrap up. Now AHQ, they still have 2 minutes. They still have time to go in, but how are they going to get through? They've swapped off the Torbjorn now. They're running Rocket on the Lucio instead. Needs to build up to that sound barrier. That should be enough. But now HQ, whoa, if they get Kalman, no, not Kalman.
Kalman getting taken out early is no good there for AHQ. They've lost the mech as well. So really just looking to build up some charge here. Probably need to fall back and play a little bit safe here. If Fireball managed to find themselves another kill, that would be even more time taken off the clock. 1 minute 30 left.
We're coming up to the Nano Visor combo. If they can get that off, then AHQ should easily take the point, easily get that 1/3. But 9th He'll have that defense matrix, but he has to not be tempted to throw in the self-destruct. As soon as that comes out, you can bet your bottom dollar that you're going to see Tactical Visor come out.
Kurlos taken out. Good start now for the side of AHQ. It was indeed the self-destruct coming through from Lazy Titan to buy them some space there. Now Dizzy getting set up here, dropping the Tactical Visor. Doesn't even need the boost as they throw it elsewhere here. And now this is coming up big for AHQ. They're finding the openings that they needed. The Tactical Visor there as Lazy Titan just finishes it off just like the series here. And AHQ close it out 3-2.
What a close match though. Even on Numbani, you thought, okay, maybe it's going to be a bit one-sided after AHQ first hold it without even giving away a third. But then Fireball come close to doing the same thing. So once more, Fireball exceeding expectations by far, even though they don't take out the series, even though they came close but didn't quite manage to do it. This is something that they can take into Season 2.
I mean, this is something they can be extremely proud of, because if they left 3-0'd, got absolutely demoed on King's Row, I mean, they were not dead in the water on Control, but I mean, it wasn't a very strong performance on Control. I don't think once they got themselves up to 99%. And if they lost Anubis in similar fashion there, you're going to be feeling pretty disheartened. But to come back and answer back, down 2-0 and win against AHQ, the third best team right now in this tournament, in such a strong sort of fashion as well, they're going to be feeling very good as they move into Season 2 there. We got to see a lot coming out from Titawa as well, some great decision making on his Winston, which I'm so happy to see. Obviously Aputo and NZ now, they have those moments time and time again. Ninth doing a great job at zoning as well, I feel. And I mean, the two supports being very elusive. They still, I feel, in regards to Crappy's Lucio, is still a little bit ahead in regards to how aggressive he sort of plays. Sometimes it does play into a disadvantageous position for them, but really that Lucio needs to be out there dishing out that damage, and that's something that Crappy, as one of the better Lucio players in the tournament, definitely stands out with.
Definitely understands. Also, Fireball, they are going to be demanding respect from teams right now. AHQ, after just playing that, you could see it when they were shaking their hands as well, that there was a lot of respect going on there. And Flash Wolves, Blank as well, after seeing that performance, are going to be saying, look, Fireball are a team that you can't just mess around with, and that's really great to see as well, because this is a team that's third last on the table, and teams are still having to respect them. Blank are going to have to respect them. AHQ will. Flash Wolves also can't just say, hey, look, it's Fireball, we'll do whatever we want.
Well, taking a look at the standings there, AHQ now sitting 21-7, 69 maps for, 29 against. Fireball, though, 9-17, 33-56. I mean, you got to be happy, though, if you're Fireball, taking those two maps off AHQ. Still very, very good, but AHQ do get the much expected and well-needed win moving forwards, picking the series up 3-2. But now, the interesting thing to note is as well, Fireball going to be taking on Flash Wolves right after this. And, I mean, if Fireball can take even a map from Flash Wolves, they are going to be just... It's a huge amount of promise shown from the side who started off OPC very, very slowly, and now taking it to the best teams in the tournament. It's
a big ask for Fireball to do it, but look, against AHQ, Numbani was great too, coming up against them. So look, I've got to say, Fireball, as I said it several times, exceeded expectations. And here we've actually got a replay of, this is Fireball's attack onto the first point, and look, a lot of them didn't work. AHQ were able to hold them off, and you can actually see they still had a ton of ultimates. And look, Dizzy...
The big thing to note there was Dizzy actually sitting out on the side, being so very, very patient, not even showing his face at all, waiting for the rest of his team to bait in that fight there. Obviously, they're in the final few seconds of the matchup there. Don't want to give too much away. It's a little too late there, and you see Fireball obviously try to contest him up on that high ground. Far too late, splits up the Fireball side, and then AHQ just murder them.
Exactly, and also just waiting out for those counters to his ultimate as well. In fact, he didn't even have his ultimate at all during that fight, but it's very likely he was going to get it during that fight. So if it did go for a little bit longer, as overtime fights usually do, then he would have had a great tactical visor that 100% would have cleaned up the fight.
But AHQ, though, there is obviously a lot of signs of strength, showing what they can sort of do when it comes to, like these dynamic sort of compositions they can run. I think they didn't want this to go all the way to best of 5, though, because, Other teams know that there's, quite strong on Numbani, but now they've sort of shown when their back's up against the wall, when they need to get themselves a win on that hybrid map, they go with Numbani. And now teams, especially coming into next weekend, are going to be well aware, or mainly Blank, are going to be well aware that Numbani is their sort of go-to on that hybrid map.
Yep, and now once more, just another replay to go through. That self-destruct was actually really interesting because it showed where, they knew where Dizzy was, and usually when you see a self-destruct come out, that's when Tactical Visor gets activated, and it was planning to shut him out in the room long enough so that he'd be out of the fight for the majority of it, and then you can still get Ninth back into the mech in time to throw out the defense matrix to stop the Tactical Visor. Unfortunately for Ninth, despite getting back into the mech, he was just far too busy, far too surrounded to even think of contesting Tactical Visor. But the decision was still clearly quite planned.
And I also like the fact here that they don't try to go for the high ground, in the sort of last ditch push here. They've gained themselves the position. They don't need to waste any extra time trying to get Dizzy set up in some kind of high ground position. He just plays very safe, very passively around that corner. Once the initial picks have been taken, once the position has been gained and they've knocked all the fireball players from the high ground, then Dizzy comes around with the Tactical Visor. I mean, Lazy Titan's managing to pick up all the actual kills, but Dizzy's Visor in itself is enough of a threat to really force Fireball back. They know they can't contest with that. They know they have nothing left in the bank, and it just secures the game up for them. So very clean piece of offense for AHQ, when again, their backs are against the wall.
Now, to bring this to a bit more of a meta level, right? We were talking before tonight had even started about teams wanting to hide things. And actually, just before I get into that, we can talk about the player of the game. You want to talk about this guy, do you?
Well, as I was talking before, there were some good support plays coming out for the side of Firewall, but something that definitely stands up for the side of AHQ is that man right there, Crappy, player of the game, so very strong on his Lucio. I mean, it was taking me back to Marchi on Hollywood. This is just speaking volumes about his play there. I mean, the whole team of AHQ did a very good job, but him and Lazy Titan together essentially two-manned that full offense from the side of Marchi there. And it just shows that his aggression and his confidence in his play of Lucio, he's so elusive to catch, first of all. He's all over the place. His aim is very good, and obviously his positioning is very strong. And I mean, that was just shown throughout that series there.
I think that's the first time we've seen a Lucio player of the match as well. So congrats to Crappy as well.
Boops for days.
The boops coming out on Lijiang Tower, getting 2 people off with 1 ability, and then also, like you say, his aggressiveness. That Lucio buff to damage, not something to just be disregarded at all.
Not at all. So AHQ picking up their 2 games, and I'd like to say in convincing fashion for this one, but not as all as Fireball fight back, managing to pick themselves up 2, which is huge for them, but AHQ looking very good in their 3rd place position. Later on this evening, we will have Fireball taking on Flash Wolves. Do stay tuned for that, as Fireball are definitely on form right now, and to finish off the night will be Hong Kong Attitude taking on Flash Wolves. We're going to go to break, and when we come back, we'll have Fireball taking on Flash Wolves. Thank you so much for being here. We'll see you after the break.